Start recording. Things will be okay. Going to be sending a impromptu now online tonight. Work on lists for mercenaries and ships. Right. New HexTCG guide. Fun. On Twitch. CoachFliperon. Okay. Wow. Alright, that works. Here it is. That's online. Let's see if the stream works. Everything seems to be on point for tonight. And yeah. Test. Alright. Everything is working as intended for now. Let's just park this one up real quick. And yeah, we should be good to go. Alright. Just updating the notes here. It's 8:30. Working. New adventurers guide. Alright, it makes sense. It works. It works. Anyway, alright, so I've been working on a new guide, starting the farm post. I mentioned it in the last stream on Sunday morning. Hey Sticky, how are you doing today, sir? And basically what I wanted to create is a resource for new adventurers that wants to explore the world of Entra through the campaign. Right now there's a ton of stuff to do, but there's not a lot of resource for a deck list at specific levels for classes and races. And we have tons of mercenaries right now also to work through. They will all require deck lists. We will need to have deck lists for our ships as well. So it takes a lot of time to work through all these deck lists, and I'm not expecting the average player, let alone the casual PvE player that plays a ton of PvP, to spend hours on deck lists. They will want to have access to a deck list, or at least have some kind of an idea of, you know, what is good and where, you know, what kind of direction they should take with specific race class combination or specific mercenaries. So what I wanted to provide is that some templates, some guidelines for each and every race class combination and each mercenaries to for someone who wants to pick up the PvE experience, can quickly run through a few of the example deck lists, and then find, okay, so I this is a build I like. I'll try this one, and now I know what a good cleric Coyote cleric dex looks like at level 2, and I also have a level 9 Coyote cleric now as an example to see where this should be evolving to have a very competitive list. So it will help existing player playing a lot of PvP to know right away where to go and save them time. It will also save time for new players as well, and this is this is also something like we do this with constructed all the time, right? We don't try to generate all the constructed lists. We go on X meta, we work with teammates, we try to see what works, we try to evolve from that, and we have a lot of information right now regarding PvP related to that, so that player can theory crafting, use the great efforts that the great strides that were made by other players, and tries to construct on top of it to improve and save a lot of time doing so, a lot of time and efforts. And right now we can do that in PvE. So my goal is to provide something like that for PvE. Now I created this post here. I will post a link. I posted a link on Twitter. I'll post a link there as well. This is my new post. Everyone is welcome to participate. What I want to do is generate some deck lists, try them out, make sure that they're sound. I want to have two types of deck lists. I want to have the competitive deck lists that are not, that are built without any restriction, as if you would have access to all equipments and cards, and the budget lists that are more geared toward, you create a brand new character, you don't have access to a fully unlocked collection of cards in X. And where do you go from there? What's the best possible thing you can do, the most powerful thing you can do with a limited collection? So these are the two things that I'll be trying to work through tonight. So I've got a lot of stuff to work through. We're going to try some deck lists. Right now, the one thing I wanted to do is make sure that the mercenary list I have right now is up to date. Just going to up on X Primal for now and look at the list, because a few mercenaries were sport that a few names that we never had before. So it's going to be very interesting to have an inventory of all these mercenaries. And okay, the spoilers are there. Mercenaries. We have a few. So Lobo, reader of streams, I believe I have. Already is here. Lobo, what am I doing here? Well, Lobo is there, that's perfect. Katsuhiro, I don't have. So Katsuhiro should be... Katsuhiro should be here, so we're going to edit the post. Katsuhiro. Alright. Augustine. Alright. Be here. You should be there. Augustine. Alright. We've got Move already in the list. Singlar was not on the list. Singlar should be here. Singlar. Alright. Yep, I believe I already have. Noryep is here. Xarak is here. Lilith. Oh, they spoiled Lilith. And again, there is a chance you summon a bottle of Vitae. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember this one. Dingler King I have. Gordon. Boom Cushion. I have. Alright, so I've got all of them, and we already have a suggested list for Singlar. That was on the HexTCG forum Singlar. So, and I believe Sweet Part 2. Oh yeah, so we already have a list here from Nico Sharp. So I guess first thing in order would be to recreate the list on TCG browser and add the list to the okay, so that would be Singlar, and that one is Singlar base. It's not unlocked, so this is a base list. Base list. It's not an unlocked list. I think we're going to need to separate normal base mercenaries than unlocked one, because there's a few unlocked power that are pretty strong and can drastically change the deck building that we're going to do with these mercenaries. So we're going to try that. So let me just put that on another monitor for now, so I can get everything. So holiday, and that's a lot of that will be a lot of singletons here. Bard, servant. We're going to get Sea-Doo, and that's what basically we're going to work toward tonight. Lots of cool stuff, and welcome Agu and Sticky for joining. If there's something specific you'd like us to discuss or do tonight, just let me know. Crusader, Recruiter, not Crusader, Recruiter, and Queen Grace. Alright, going through the list. Benjamin, Wise, we've got Bernard. That's a interesting choice. Rowan. Feels like a very team deck. And Crusader is there. Alright. And the next one is K. Carrot K. Huh. So I'm just getting the list from the article from Nico Sharp, Lady Devonshire. You got it, Lord Alexander, Lord Alex. Alright, so I'm going to grab this one. Princess Victoria. It's normal art. I'll win. Alright, Arch Mage. So that makes for a lot of cards. Archmage. We're going to do some deck testing after that for sure. Aspirant. Clearly a humans list. Adam. Lord Adam. Lord Adam was added. Yes. Okay. Next one. Bowie, Starlight. We've got Reese. A lot of very strong troop, right? King Gabriel here. Sin for top line. Chrono Demon. Gambit with retreat and lost in time. Alright, Mimic. I know this is not a tested list, but we're going to add it. That's a, you know, Nico worked toward that. He did put some time and effort into it, so at least it's a starting point for this mercenary. We'll know once we get our hands on it if things really ends up being as assumed, expected, but for the most part right now. So awaken Mastery of Time. Mastery of Time, we're nearly done here. Replica, Reinforcement, and the next one is Purge. So, I'm not. Oh, don't tip. I don't know what happened there, but I just. Alright, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to add the list some other time. It doesn't. It's not really productive to do that on stream. Alright, we're going to change gears here, but at least I know I have all the mercenaries now in the list. So, just going to submit the change. So that it is kept updated with all the mercenaries right now. How do we have? How many do we have? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 81, 2, 9. We've got 45 mercenaries, known mercenaries in the game right now. That's a big deal. That's a ton of mercenaries. 45 mercenaries. That's a good number, and we know there's likely 1 or 2 that will not be spoiled just to keep up the surprise. So that's going to be cool. Yeah, that's great. So let's just up back on the lists here. So right now on the forum post we have the Ranger, Coyotol Ranger, the Coyotol, the Dwarf, the Venom, and the Human Ranger. So I'm missing 4 Ranger starters that I really want to put together. So let's try to tackle the Necrotic Ranger build. So first we need to look at the Necrotic grid at level 2 to have a good idea of where do we start with this. So level 2 Necrotic grid. What does it look like? I really wish we were able to consult the grids without having to create a character for that specific race. That would be so cool, but I guess it's not going to happen anytime soon, so let's go. Huh. Actually, this is the exact same grid as we have for the Dwarf and the Human, so we could just use the Human grid then. Alright, that works. That works for me. That's interesting. Alright, so the Necrotic would be same as Human. Ranger. Just going to edit this on the post. Necrotic Ranger 2 budget confirmed. This would be same as Human Ranger level 2. Alright. That solves the problem, so we have one done. Still need Orc, Shinner, and Orc, Elf, Shinner, and Orc, Elf, and Shinner, and I'll have all the list there. So let's try to get a Shinner list going. That's going to the one. I think that's going to be the hardest one. I think it is going to be the hardest one. Where's my Shinner? Yes, it is here. So the Shinner grid is Wild Blood. I don't think there's a splash in the grid for something else, so we really need to start a brand new list. Not sure what's the most powerful thing to do with Blood Wild early on as a ranger. Yeah, the level 9 is max on the uncommons, but yeah, it's Blood and Wild. So okay, so let's try this. Let's try this challenge then. We want to have the most powerful ranger list for a Shinner in the wild. Okay, that's going to be a good challenge. So what I like to do is try to find if there's any, equipment on common or uncommon cards that would make that are very, very strong standalone cards for the budget list at level 2. The only thing we can put in spades is commons, right? So if we have a good strategy that's centered around commons, this could lead to a nice list. So PV Shinner Ranger level 2 budget. All right, so we'll start by taking a look at the equipments and see if we find something interesting in there. So show all items. We're looking at I know that we'll be very limited in there. So let's just sort by rarity. See what kind of equipment. I wish we could remove the rares and legendary cards from this, but we can't. So just trying to see if we get some commons and uncommons in there at the top with the legendary equipments. It doesn't appear that we're finding any. Nope, not yet. It does make sense that most legendary equipment are on rare cards and legendary cards, but yeah. Alright. Yuzume actually Yuzume might be a thing. So let me just write down here. We would be maybe Yuzume plus equip. That sounds like something powerful to do. It's a rare, but it's a rare from the campaign, so it is farmable. Oh, that's a nice one. Here we've got all rares. Oh, the first one is Brood Creeper. That sounds like something strong. Creeper plus equip. Its equip gives spiders you control +1/+1. Dreadlings are spiders, so this is essentially boosting all dreadlings. And there's also a 3 a 3-cost Chenier that boosts all Dreadlings. So maybe we we want to go the Dreadling route. That could be a thing. That could most definitely be a thing, and would still be keeping up with the objective of having a budget list. There's a few Cheniers that work well with each other, that are from the campaign. Sora is from the campaign. It's a very strong card. Each card named Sora has 1, sacrifice another troop, draw a card, lose 2 health, sacrifice another troop, gain 3 health. So definitely a strong card that we might be including, even without the equip, to be honest. Since it's a rare that we can farm, I just don't want add PvP rares and legendaries for the most part, unless they're very cheap. Spore Shambler, what does it do? Target true controller shares a trait with the chosen true gets +1/+1, and when it dies, create a seed pod. Okay, and the equipment. When this deals combat damage on the opposing champion from up to 1 target troop in that champion's script into a seed pod. So it can create seed pods and give +1/+1 to all your troops with the same trait. This will go in the zombie, in the plant hunter deck, but that's not something we'll be having level 2. +2 permanently, instead of +2 for the turn. She takes Chef as at the start of each turn, but this is a rare. and at this level we only can really put 1 rare of each cards, 1 copy of each rare, so it's really hard to choose to have an equipment on a rare cards in a build like that, because you're not going to draw your singleton rare card very often. So you'd be most better off running with equipment on uncommons and common cards. Ideally on uncommons card. Underworld Recruiter plus equip is fantastic. That's just fact. Steering Aeration is nice, but being white blood, I don't think we're going to go down that road. Minion of Yazukan. Emperor's Ethel's Will. Troops you control gets crushed. +1/+1 for each Chenier in your crypt this turn. Your armed have troops you control get crushed this turn. As a one-off, we don't want to build toward that just yet. This is yet another rare. Legendary cards. Other rangers you control have flight. Now that is something nice. The Wing Maiden gives flight to all rangers. Maybe we should check what are the rangers. That could be cool. Hunger and Mountain God likely makes the deck. Beast Cutter, Beast Interplay you control have at battles, a troop. Now, this is the kind of equipment I'd consider for a rare in our list, because it makes it so that the rare would just win the game on its own. Without the equipment, it creates a troop every turn and it's good, but the equipment makes them being removal, so that's a whole different story. So Yuzume even has another equip. Sacrifice this. Troops you control get +1/+1 this turn. Yuzume could definitely be the rare of the lot. Let's see. Trying to find something else that works well. It's really hard. Blood has a lot of cool cards, but they're all rares. That's the problem. Forever Blooms. Okay, alright. What's this one? When this still damage, another random undead you control gets +1/+1. I don't think we're building an undead deck. Walking Knives plus 4/5 for 6 when this attacks other troops you control gets +1/+1. It's 6. No, I don't think we're building an insect deck as well. Range Spider is a nice thing to add since it's Range Spider is a an unblockable for 3. 2/2 unblockable for 3 is decent. Red thing away. When a zombie interpreter under your control, this is a clip in your crypt, get it back. Dream Bear is solid. It's just solid. I mean, it's a 5/5 for 6 with Crush that gains you 5 health. It's very hard, very hard to go wrong with this one. So maybe we want to use the Wild 2 ramp into big things. And that's going to be the strategy here if we don't find high synergies. When a spider is under your control, it gets +1 attack. Spider deck? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Once per turn when again else. Heremite is common, so I like it for the Dreadling. Heremite plus equip. Oh, it seems that we could have like 6 to 7 3 drops that affects Dreadlings, that affects spiders, like doing damage and doing other stuff. So maybe we want to go the spider route. Lullaby. I think that's Dreadling. They're going for Dreadlings. Should be okay. We have Dread Harvest. That is a fairly, you know, it's a common. It's easy to get. So that could be cool as well. Yeah, I think we got something here. Let's try to make the Dreadling work. I think that will work out. So we want, for the Dreadling, we want Brood Creeper with equip. We'd want Kizashi War Bunny, that is a common. Oh, there's even an equip. When the center play, create a Dreadling and put it into play. Wow, that's nice. That's perfectly fine. Works really well. This one has a boot equip. Spiders you control have +1/+1. The trinket is when the center plays stun target opposing troop. Wow, this is good. These two are pretty good. Then we've got Eremite. That would do damage when we have a spider enter play under our control. So our 3 drops all out-pump Dreadlings. Well, these 2 pump Dreadlings and this one makes Dreadling do direct damage. So we could start with that. Not necessarily using the trinket right now, but I like this one. I like this. Oh, they're both boots. They're both boots. I think I'm putting the boots here for the creeper. It's just +2/+2 permanently. That's just better in my opinion. Oh, that's sad. And this one is boots as well. What is it with Dreadlings and boots? Or spiders and boots? That's So Dreadling equipment with Dreadling. We've got 3. Press and run instead of this sword target at a fight and constant. Otherwise, we should create 2 Dreadlings for each artifact. Create Skittering Darks is 3 Dreadlings instead of 2. Maybe that's something we want to do. When the center play, create Dreadling and put it into play. Yeah, I think we'd rather have permanent +2/+2 to Dreadlings with this one. Alright, so if we look at Dreadling with all cards, we have Dread Harvest, that is a common. Dread Driver is a rare, so I'll avoid it. Exploration is a common. Dread the mice, create 3 dreadlings, put them into play, scrounge 2, Shroomkin, you control gets +1 attack. Seem like something we wouldn't want to do for a big turn. Creating a bunch of their dreadlings and then just going to town. I guess we run Skitter in Dark, but we equip 2 Dread Factories, 3 Decrees, 3 Botanists, so we have a decent amount of dreadlings going on here. Acolyte is a rare, so I don't want to add it in the list so far, but just going with what we have right now, we seem to have a decent amount of dreadlings here being created. We're at 27 cards though. So we're creating a bunch of dreadlings. We have cards that interact with dreadling. We have a pet that will hopefully be a Shroomkin since we're Shenair. And maybe Dread Demise is not worse. I don't know. Titanospore. Yeah, this is a floor price rare, so maybe we. So let's see. So we're adding a lot of dreadlings. We have ways to pump the dreadlings. Now, the other advantage of the dreadlings are assault and scrounge and sacrifice. So sacrifice. What do we have? Let's just narrow down the search for now. I don't think we don't want rare and legendaries for the most part, so let's just try it. Sacrifice. What? Good. Well, definitely Gruesome Deed is a nice card here. Born to Die. Lackey is nice when you have a lot of sacrifice fodder. For us, just zombies are okay. I guess Retreatist, I'm not sure. Warlock of Aether is nice, although if we're pumping our troop, this one makes you sacrifice something. Drawing 3 cards feels pretty nice. The rest I don't think so. So we say sacrifice, we add assault, and we add scrounge. Assault I really don't think so. Yeah. Maybe Scout the Wild is worthy, but a revealed troop or resource into your hand. Depending on the kind of deck that we produce, maybe that's a thing. Now, scrounge. We have access to Haunting Cry. This is a common. Oh, that's pretty nice. Venom Blade is nice as well as a Death Touch. Magus is a big troop for very low cost. Turgis can be even nice with Rich. Yeah, Scrounge. I like Scrounge. This one, we already have a lot of 3-drops though. Okay, so feels like we have a ton of cards. Where do we go from there? Necessary Sacrifice I really like, but if we're running, I think I'd rather just run Haunting Cry for the most part. But this one puts something in the crypt. Feels like we're running either one of them, not both. The zombies are cool, but they're not going to win us games. So it shouldn't be game us. The Megas are definitely something that will win us games. This is optional for now. Do we really want the Underworld Decrease? I'm not sure. What 45 the casting cost of the deck is pretty low, so we can likely go up to 30 38 40 cards, but we still have to cut a lot of cards right now. So what do we cut here? Do we want that many removal? That much removal? We already have the greed. Yeah, the greeds are not helping, right? We have exploration that creates drillings. That's the important thing. This is not directly related to drillings. We don't like it. Do we go with 20 shards? Not sure. Yeah, we don't want to hit 3 on curve most of the time. Do I really want to decrease? That's you know what? I think I'd rather have the decrease than the factory. Do we? Yeah, we want big burst turn. Well, maybe we'll go with 20 shards. So what's the hypergeometric calculation for 20 shards? We want to have 4 by turn 4. Yeah, we've got a decent amount of 4 drops, so I don't think 20 is enough. 20, and then sample size would be in the first 11 cards. We want 4 success. And we're at 50% right now. If we go up to 22 resources, we go up to 63. 24. We go up to 72%, but we have 3 harvests, so it's could go down to 23 resources. So we need to cut 3 cards still. Yeah, let's cut the Venom Blades. So we're drawing some cards to assemble a combo. And we've got ways to produce a bunch of Dreadlings. We're going to use a champion power. Normally we would have our ranger power, but now we won't. So just going to choose a 2 or 3 cost activation power. Yeah, let's just go with yeah, it really doesn't matter. Let's just go with her for now. And if we're looking at shards now, reset filter. We're going to go with 4 of these, and we're 60%, 68% blood. So this and this. Whoa, this doesn't work. 11, 8 feels right. We still need 2 wild for these cards. That's 15 sources of blood and 12 sources of wild. I guess that's okay. We can try to spin this one. So let's just look at the equipment now. Now that we have a list that seems to be working. Let's view equipments for the deck. Or there's not a ton. There's a lot of boots. It seems that we're going to use a trinket and a chest. And that's pretty much it. That's sad. I'm pretty sure we can do something more powerful than that. But let's just try this one out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Sleeves. What do we have? Alright, that works. Let's try Frustrating Arena with the list. We'll try a few fights. See what makes it tick. I don't know what you guys think about this list so far, but we're going to test it, see if we like it. So here we are, starting the game. But let's just try this one out, shall we? Okay, so we've got some fixing and some Dreadlings that can be generated for sure. No, this is meant to be a Shinner Ranger list, starter list that we're testing. Because the way it works is that the shard grid is defined by the race, not the class. So I'm just using a random champion here. And you know, I know that at level 2 I'm putting my pet out, and at level 4 I'm pumping the pet. So we're just operating on that basis for now. And in the meantime, we're just trying to see if the list can tackle the arena a bit. And if we're able to win most of our fights in arena, we know that once we have the ranger champion power, it will be even easier at that point. So I think we should be good. So I think we're I guess we're going with the factory and the decree. We don't have any of our 3-drops that pump our dreadlings for now, but we're going to try to see how they would tackle. Now we need a true at some point. We have the Smash Magus here. So I guess we're putting the Dread Harvest out. We're putting the shard here to get a Dreadling. There's nothing that we can play besides the Decree, so we're just going to play it. Gain a white threshold. Get another Dreadling. Use them for the Dread Factory. And pass the turn. So one thing that is great with the with this strategy is that the pet from the Shin'er, you know, ensures that we have at least one troop in play on turn 2. So if we're playing Dread Factory, for instance, we know that we'll have at least one target for it early on in the game. And now we're getting the Brood Creeper. That's perfect. So we're going to put the Creeper in play, stun this troop here, create a 2/2 Drilling. Now, do we attack with the Drilling or do we just use it for the factory? I feel that we should be... Yeah, we're not going to use it for the factory. Next turn, we will very, very likely have a 2 troops to complete the factory. So we're just going to attack with this one since it's a 2/2. Then it goes to the crypt. We pass the turn. So at this point, we want to activate Dread Fact. Wow, this is going to be hard. Okay, I'm not taking a risk here. All right. Oh, that's sad. That's pretty sad. What do we do with troops that we have right now? I guess we want to have the rider. Activate the 2 troops. Make him sacrifice something. At least now we have a... and we can activate this to do this. And... Alright, so... yeah, it's going to be hard. I don't think that list is going to do things powerful enough. Yeah, we can't block here. That's just... maybe we can burst him. No. If we get an exploration, does that work? Yeah, we're not winning this one. So let's just, you know, this is one game. Let's just tackle another one, see if we can if that list can work. Sorry guys, I've been muted for a long time, I believe. Sorry. So we're working on a Ranger, Shin'er Ranger list right now. I'm using a random champion here, but really this is for a Shin'er Ranger list. So we're working out of the level 2 Shin'er grid. Means that we have access to 3 common, 2 uncommons, 1 rare, and 1 legendary for each blood and wild, as well as 1 artifact of each rarity in the list. So we tried to go full on Dreadling, didn't really like how it panned out, so right now I'm trying to find another, the strongest possible list for a Shin'er Ranger, but with the requirements just really a Shin'er, the strongest Shin'er blood wild list that we can build. Now, I think having evasive threats with some amount of removal and ways to pump them is going to be the best. It shouldn't be muted right now. Just let me know if you can hear the chat, the stream at this time. I'm currently working on the new guide that I'll be building with the help of the community. If things go well, trying to provide some deck list templates for the people that want to tackle Adventure Zone and doesn't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the good lists for the Adventure Zone. So how do we pump our troops? I feel blood. Oh, why do I instead have +3/+3? This is a weapon, and this is a common. So I think we have our suit of pump action. I like this one. So we could go with that. And we even have 61 cards. So we've got 9 ways to pump evasive threats. And we've got roughly 12 evasive threats. And we're not very defensive, but we have some amount of life gain. We've got 3 that provides life gain. We've got 2 here, and that's it. But so we want to be offensive. Huh. I'm really wondering if we should just drop the Dreadling team at this point. Just enable some better, stronger cards to be played. Overall, I do like the Dread Harvest for the Dread Harvest. I like them for the fixing the shard, making us draw a shard, and they do provide some fodder for the Dead Set's Rider and for the Assault for Taste of Blood. So Taste for Blood. So I like that. It seems that the cards that we have that are evasive will be extremely strong if we're going to pump them. So the rest would be to stabilize and Banshee, this we're removing, this we're removing. So we have a chest and feet available. This one works out of gloves and trinket. Trinket is the Banshee. Do we really need the equipment for the Banshee? I don't think so. I think we could drop the equipment for the Banshee for the most part. And the gloves are, yeah, the gloves are pretty mandatory. So the trinket is, yeah, it's not a one. So let's just try to run the Banshee here. We're not going to run Fertile and Godger for now, but I think if we want to stabilize the Killblade will be perfect for that. We're not going to go with the equipment for Giant Mosquito, but this one is fine for stabilizing for sure. Oh, that's nice. Do we want more lethal troop? Let's see. What do we have? Dead Cap is an uncommon with lethal that costs 3. And there's a trinket equipped that makes it so that opposing troop must block this if able. So you're killing 2 troops. You you force them to block. You just don't control what's going to be blocked, and you can even give it +1 in life drain with the head, but that's not going to happen. I guess death cap is a consideration, but if we're going to pay 3 for a lethal troop, would we rather go with Cruel Venom Blade with Scrounge 2 to have a 5/4 lethal? That's a significant threat. Cook it twice. What kind of gems, right? We have speed, unblockable, Skyguard, steadfast, and crush. Huh. 4/2 Skyguard, steadfast, crush is not that great. However, we could put the evasive gem. Oh yeah. So anything with a socket really could be pretty nice here as evasive troop. So socket. What do we have for socket? We have the cook twice. Could be a 4/5, a 4/2 with crush. That is hard to block. We've got the Turgist here. We've got a Stalker. Sorcerer could be a target, but I feel like we already have a decent amount of targets for evasion. Oh, this one with pump and evasion is nice. It's like post-combat rage. But I'd better have low-cost troop with evasion. Like we already have the Killblade is nice, Mosquito is nice. Carries life drain. So we get a decent amount of life drain, so we can stay on the offensive. So let's see, life drain. All right, so where do we go with life drain? This we already have. Paladin, we don't have a Paladin deck. Can't play the Grim Harvester. We have the Corrupted Harvester. This is not. We're not a sacrifice deck. It would be nice if we could be able to play the Revenant, but we can't. Yeah, I think we have all the life drain that we need, that we can possibly want right now. So okay. This is shape. I think I have a lot more faith in this list than the other one. We don't have a lot of removal though, so we could most definitely sport some kills. That would work. So kill. A few kill wouldn't hurt. We can't play extinction. Do we have an equipment for these? No. Casualty of war, I've destroyed target. No. Each opposing troop that shares a trait with that troop gets -2/-2. Wow, that's great. That's very strong. Kill, we've got 3. We could go with a giant mosquito, but that's not where I want to go with this list for now. Wild, what do we have in wild? We could go with explorer. Put things in the crypt. Ideally would like enablers for our assault, taste for blood as much as possible. Like 2-cost flyers, but I don't think I think we've got all of them right now. Are there any other 2-cost flyer in Blood Wild? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think we have any. We could go with some Dark Frostfire Priestess. Where we would equip. Check It Twice is nice. It can attack and remove a blocker for resources. So Underworld, unaffiliated, Ardent, unaffiliated. Yeah, the Recruiter doesn't make sense right now. It's not a Gruesome Deed list anymore. We want an evasive blocker or something that can play defense. Maybe an enabler for assault. Maybe we want lackeys in the list. Like just early troop, early blocker that draws a card. Fine. And we have Killblades and lackeys and mosquitoes. Maybe, and some Dreadling. Maybe we play Gruesome Deed. Like, yeah, I'm building a Shinner Ranger right now. This is, you know, the grid restriction for characters in the Adventure Zone is defined by the race. So we don't know, you know, what was going to be the race class combination for the special Ranger Shinner power, but we do know that the Shinner Ranger is going to have that grid. So I'm trying to see if we can take advantage of the fact that, one, we know for a fact that we'll always have a pet in play at the start, you know, early in the game because of the Ranger power, and the Ranger power helps pumping that troop. So here we have a deck that just further works toward pumping troops. So we added some evasive threats, some ways to pump troops, and this is what I'm trying to figure out right now, going towards that. So just one deed here. We've got one slot remaining, so it's perfect for zombie plant deck. Well, it's perfect, but you need, for the plant deck, you need to have the higher level talents. And right now, oh, I forgot to specify, this is for a level 2 Shinner Ranger. This is not for a fully leveled Shinner Ranger. That's why I'm being very, you know, that's why our options are very low right now. So level 2 Shinner Ranger, the list is the cards requirement are as follows. So this is Blood and Wild, and we have 1/1/1/1 for artifacts. So this is why I'm sticking with commons and uncommons for now. I you know, full level Ranger, the plant build is going to be awesome, and I can't wait to play it. But this is a design for the early level, because the what I'm working on right now is I created a new resource to track different builds for classes and races, and even mercenaries and ships for the Adventure Zone 2. And right now I'm working towards generating a list for the Shinner Ranger, level 2 list for the Shinner Ranger. I already have Human, Coyotal, Necrotic Dwarf, Venom Ranger done. I need to do Orc, Elf, and Shinner. So working on Shinner at this time. So here, this is where I really feel that this list seems to be strong, right? We're going to have a big evasive attacker. We have kills, we have deeds to deal with, you know, pesky threats. We've got a decent amount of life drain sources, some dreadlings, and some ramp. So what's the last card that we put in? I feel that we want a big eater, like something that will win games, even if we have only one copy. So let's just forget about the commons for a second here. Let's go with a cost. Let's see what do we have for big things. We could go 7 cost is a bit much. I like the Square Titan. It's just a removal, right? This one would be Rage 2 and +1/+1. That's not super great. I really love the Raker though. I love myself some Raker. If we're going to have a evasive threat, the Vampiton can be nice. Brood Creeper, Cockatrice. Maybe we test Cockatrice with evasion and +1 and crush. Evasion, steadfast, and Skyguard. Could be a thing. Ritualist sounds nice. Wakizashi, Ambusher. Maybe we go with the one-off necessary sacrifice just to reload the hand if we empty our end. We don't really have ways to you know what? I know what I'm call. We're going to use, we're going to run Color Grave because we're going to invest a lot in troops. We want to be able to get them back, right? If they got killed, we just get them back. So looking at the curve right now, it's still, it's even lower than it was before. So maybe we go down one more shard here. Yeah, go down one more shard and we go with 2 Color Grave. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. So, oh, let's just review the equipment real quick, see if we're missing anything for the deck. Okay, so chest, we have only curved harvester, so we use it. The other is already done. Feet, what do we have with feet? We don't have anything on the feet though. That's sad. Well, we'll test this. Let's try to see if it can clear some arena matches. That's roughly the power level test that I'm doing right now instead of working the campaign, because it's a bit slower to work in the campaign. I'm just creating these lists in the for the arena. If we're able to clear, you know, most of the encounters, I'll consider that the list is fairly strong. And if you start with this list with a new ranger, you should be able to clear, you know, everything until you reach the second zone, the Adventure Zone 2. So that's my benchmark here. If we're able to fight these fights, we should be able to clear all dungeons up to Adventure Zone 2. So here we're going to open it with the Wild. So we don't have any pump here, but we do have a Blood Sword Brawler on 2, which we'll be putting because of the Rage 2. That's fairly important. And then if we get some blocker, we're good. We have the Lackey to sacrifice and draw, and the Dread Harvest to make sure that we get all the shards that we need. So that works fine for now. We're not going to block. This one is equipped. That has Rage 2 instead of Rage 1. Okay, so where do we go from there? I feel that we're going to... I think I want to play the Lackey and sacrifice it to kill something. So, but at the same time, Dread Harvest. Where do we go with Dread Harvest? I think we Dread Harvest. Play the Wild Shard. Attack with everything. And use the first gruesome deed on the Dreadling to the troop here. So, okay, so we have a 2-2. Next turn it's a 4-4 and cannot be blocked by a troop with less attack than this troop. So we have our first evasive threat. This turn we're going to put Lackey, Mosquito in, the Kill Blade. I'm keeping the Shard of Ancient to produce a wild so that we have Dreadling on the mend. And we do have our evasive threat that is going to kill our opponent fairly quickly unless it's dealt with. So feels like we're in a decent spot right now. I guess I'm going to block with Lackey to draw a card. Another Dread Harvest. We definitely want to kill that, so let's go with a Dread Harvest. Get some Dreadling. Use Gruesome Deed on this guy. And we attack with everything. Okay, so now the list feels a lot better. We're able to use removal. We have an evasive threat that is becoming bigger and bigger. If we get any pump spell, we're good. And now we're going to attack with this guy. He's not going to be able to block him. And we're going to win. Alright, okay, so that works. Means that at least the first fight is encouraging for the list. And keep in mind that level 2 we get a pet. Level 4 we also improve it, so that's the fact that we can guarantee to have a 2-drop in play as much as we want, means that Gruesome Deed is perfect for the Ranger. And I don't think this is something I emphasized enough in the other list that I created. That Gruesome Deed is just insane with the Ranger. You just, that's the same thing as Shoku, right? You create instead of creating a Dreadling that dies right away, you create a pet that stays on the board, and if you ever need to kill something and you have the you just have the pet that you can sacrifice right away. We're going to go with Blood. Next turn I guess with Dread Harvest we've got Abominate, so yeah, that's okay. This turn we Dread Harvest. Next turn we go with Banshee. And after that we go Abominate on the Banshee to make it 6/5 nearly unblockable troop, and this should work. Oh, we've got a Bloodsoul Brawler as well. Where do you go from there? Let's try out the Banshee. Alright, so Banshee is here. 3/2 that can only be blocked by Artifact troops and Hornblood troops. We're attacking for 5 next turn. Yeah, okay, all the Abominates. So we have Dread Harvest, so we want to be playing 3 resources, so we're not going to be able to max out on Dread Harvest, but let's just get the Dreadling. Use Abominate with the Dreadling here. And Abominate is another card that if you can guarantee that you have a troop in play, a free troop, then Abominate becomes pretty great. So any kind of sacrifice effect with the Ranger would be very, very strong, and this is what we're learning right now. We're going to put the Brawler in play, so that next turn we can also attack with a Brawler that will not be able to be blocked. Well, that's going to be big. Alright, so 15, getting the Dreadling, dice and come back again. This is a bug here because of the when a card leaves play, there's 25% chance that the constructor creates a card with the card's name and put it into play. And with the end of turn triggers, it just got messed up a bit. But that's nice. Alright, so I guess we Dread Harvest. Killblade, Abominate. One of the Dreadlings on the Brawler. And then we attack for a ton of damage. Wow, that's super nice. This is working pretty fine right now. That's a good way to approach it, and it's just going to get better with the Gruesome Deeds and the Abominate in the list. It's just going to get better as we get... Okay, so this is 6. This one will be 7. So yeah, he's not blocking anything right now. So let's just attack. Attack. And we're winning. Alright. So we're mostly good at racing for now. But we'll see. What I like with the arena as well is that it creates a lot of scenarios. It puts you in all quadrants, right? When you're ahead, when you're behind. And... I just love this one. So go first. We have a 2-drop. We have a +2/+2 life drain. We've got Colorgrave and Banshee. So hopefully on the play this is enough. We'll see. So first turn, we're going to put a Mosquito in there first turn, and every time we deal damage to Avalanche Giant, our troop gets +1/+1. So that's something significant as well. And Taste for Blood will just get bigger and will just get cost lower and lower. We've got Colorgrave to recall a troop. Wow, okay. That's a very strong start. We'll like to have some removal at some point. Just attack first. And we're getting some health back. We've got a Banshee going. Alright, so next turn we attack for 5. Oh god, really? That's an insane start. Let's see if we can raise that. So I'm banking on a big taste for blood play here. Okay, so how do we do this? We have a chump blocker for next turn. This turn we attack with these two. Now taste for blood costs 4. I think we're putting the Banshee out and the Lackey. We chump block as much as we can. And next turn we use taste for blood on the Banshee and we should be able to raise this. Wow. What a start. Okay, all is not lost. So I'm chump blocking this guy and we take 8 here. No problem. Okay, we draw a shard, we have access to Call the Grave. Okay, so we create a shard. Right now we would have had a pet, so with the pet we would have been able to block at least a chunk of damage. And actually with the pet we would have been able to play Taste for Blood last turn, likely, to attack and gain 6 health. So I feel like the pet would have been pretty great. So do we attack with everything? No, we're going to die if we attack with everything. Just going to go with these guys here. Gain 9. Not sure that it's going to be enough though, but just going to get the Lackey back and pass the turn. At least that's a chump blocker for next turn. Do we survive this turn? I don't think we survive this turn. Yeah, we're not surviving this turn at all. Crushing blow. Alright, get wrecked. This was kind of mostly his best start, so I'm not too sad about that. I'm pretty sure that if we have had the pet, we would have been able to win. Well, maybe not, but it would have been a lot closer. Go first. So what we're learning right now is that Rangers with blood, you want sacrifice effects because you're taking advantage of your pet. So that will mainly be used to be a sacrifice fodder. So what troop do I want more? Yeah, Carpenter Harvester, we've got enough for it. Yeah, I guess the Harvester is good. So here we're going to open with blood. So you really want sacrifice effect with Ranger Pet is good in blood. Which also enables Scrounge, which also means that we're good with Assault. So I guess this is where we need to take the early Ranger list towards. Use Gruesome Deed, use Taste for Blood, use Necessary Sacrifice, use Abominate, and create a strong force. Okay, so here we attack. Taste for Blood is upgrading. We're not going to play Gruesome Deed here, so might as well take this card here. Alright, so we got 2 damage per turn in the air with Life Drain. It's not the best, but that works. And under Taste for Blood. And this is where ensuring that you always have a troop makes a big difference, because this hand, if we get our troop killed, is pretty bad. But when you can guarantee to always have a troop in play with the Ranger power, that hand becomes super strong, because even if we lose the pet, we can put another one on turn 4. And then we put the Taste for Blood on the pet, and it's all good. It's just all good. So do we go with one of the Taste for Bloods at this point? I feel we do. Just to speed up the clock a bit. And now we've got another one anyway. We're gaining a ton of health, so we're racing pretty well, but our opponent is kind of stuck on resources right now. Only played 2 cards, so that also makes a big difference. So here, getting some other thing, and we're at 6 resource start right now. So you know, maybe we sacrifice the first pet to Gruesome Deed, and then the second pet we use Taste for Blood on, and then we have another big troop on the board. So that works really well. I think this is where we need to go. I really love this. I really love this direction for the early Ranger list. You just lose a lot. You just use a lot of pump actions, so that you know that you will always have your pet to improve, and you also can use your pet for sacrifice fodder if needed. All right, seems that we're going to end the game with just these cards that we played at the beginning, and that's it. We're kind of flooding right now, and our opponent is not doing much. Oh, he gets a wild, so maybe this is where the shit hits the fan. Yes, this is where the shit hits the fan. Okay, but we still win. Finally gets a brawler, but that's okay. All right, that works. I think we got something here. I like that. I really like that. Hey, Grim, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to the team. And for those who were just joining, we're working on this. I'm just reposting the link here. We're working on this right now. This is the campaign debt list guide that I'm building right now. And I see that we've got some nice posts already. Nice. We're going to work things out with it. So keep here, continue. All right, that's great. Lists are coming in. We're going to build up that resource. So we want to play Mosquito on 2. We're against Zoltag, so getting lucky on 1 is not that big of a deal. I guess we're going with Wild. And second turn we go with Mosquito. We've got a handful of remove all in a jump blocker that draws us a card, so I think wow, okay, so we really want to remove this guy. So Mosquito on turn 2. And Zoltag is going to be one of the hardest to beat here. Not only does he start with a lot of health, he's extremely aggressive, a lot more than us, and we're bad at blocking the board. We just want to be aggressive with this list. So here, I guess we're killing this guy. And oh, and one thing that doesn't work really well right now is that the champions that I chose has a lot of health, and because of the primer on the Ranger, we know that the Ranger would have, I think it's 17 health as a starter. So yeah, we're going to have to change that. So we're just going to remove this guy here. Attack with the Mosquito again. So we're keeping pace right now. If we get any action that improve our troop here, we're going to be in a decent spot, I feel. Well, okay. And now we can activate this champion power. It's 5, okay. So we're good. One more turn. We're definitely blocking here. Gruesome Deed. Another Gruesome Deed. That's not good. Not good at all. And this situation would be mostly fine if we had a pet. Would have been able to maybe trade a pet with something else, or just use Gruesome Deed with the first pet and then create another one and use Gruesome Deed again to clear up the board. So this is where it would have made a huge difference here to have the pet. So yeah, we're not winning this one by a long shot. So you know, this is a situation where the list works if we have the pet, but it doesn't work right now in our testing because we don't. But it doesn't mean that the list is bad for the Ranger. It just means that you know, it's just we're trying to test with the tools that we have right now. So let's just looping back on the list. I'm really starting to like the list right now. I like the way we're going. So not sure about the Dead Says Rider. Benchy feels okay. We don't need Red Harvest to produce targets for the sacrifice fodder because we have the pet. So that was an error in the build. We've got 6 actions that ask us to sacrifice something. We've got 9 ways to improve a troop. We've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 evasive threats outside of our pet to target with the troop improvement, so it feels right. We've got 2 Call a Grave. Maybe we want more Call a Grave. Maybe just Mono Blood. That's another consideration. It would... let's try to make this Mono Blood. So we're removing this. Let's see. Let's go with 23 for now. Let's just go another Call a Grave. So Mono Blood. I like Mono Blood. Let's see where we go with that. That removes. We only have six actions to make a troop bigger though. So that's kind of worse. I'd like to have a bit more to improve troops. So, but we're Mono Blood, so let's wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. We do have access to a nice card. Let's see. We're Mono Blood. And again, the level 2 ranger requirements are that we get 3 commons, 2 uncommons, and 1 rare, 1 legendary. But I don't want to go into that space yet, because I really want to have a budget list that like anyone that wants to start a Shinai Ranger will be able to use right away. The equipments are extremely cheap. The cards are all uncommons and commons. And if we can manage to create a list that can clear and deal with the frustrating arena for the most part, then we're pretty good. I believe the ranger has 17 health. So yeah, let's take an 18 health champion. This should be more in line with what we should expect. And we do get to play one of each rarity of artifacts if we need to. So where do we go from now? So that equip is taken. This is open. And this is taken. So we got a decent amount of equips as well. Well, you want the botanist here. Do we want the botanist? We don't really need sacrifice fodder. We might want the botanist. We want ways to win games. Or just more evasive threats, maybe? I don't know. Where do we go from here? We've got kills, we've got gruesome deeds, so removal wise I feel that we're pretty strong. Our evasive threat, we've got a decent amount of life drain as well. We've got 8 sources of life drain. That's great. Maybe dead cap is not a bad option. Just like straight up force trades on offense so that you don't have to deal with these troops on defense. That could be a thing. That could most definitely be a thing. I really love Engorger. I think that's one of the strongest cards you can play PvE with blood. There's so many great synergies with it. It's a trinket and a glove. So trinket, we have the Benchy, but we could, I guess we could, having 1 less attack on the Benchy is not that big of a deal if we're going to use actions to improve our troops. And Gorger creating 1/1 death touch, 1/1 lethal troops is extremely good, and we're running Call the Grave so we can create a loop with him. I really think we, yeah, if we're going mono blood, I want to try this. Oh, what did it remove? Oh, that's a chest. Wait. Are you still equipped? Oh, this is where it doesn't work. Yeah, this is why it doesn't work. Oh, I don't think we're removing the Blood-Soaked Brawler. It's just too good. So yeah, let's just get back on this. There's a 1-cost action, right? Now that's like 3 blood threshold that provides +3 -1. Or is it? Is it 2 cost? I believe it's 1 cost. Ah, Thirst, and it's a common. It's +3 attack -1 defense. It works on the Brawler, it works on the Benchy, it works on the Harvester. That's nice. And it draws us a card. Yeah, that's our 9 pump sources. That that works. Okay, we've got something there. So we're back to 9. I like that. It doesn't work with our Mosquito though. That's a bit of a pain, but for the most part it's good. And we've got Call the Grave. Okay, we're good. So we want evasive troops with 2 defense or more. At least I'd like to see a few more. I guess the Dead Set Rider are just so nice, right? Sometimes they remove one troop, and that's pretty great. They're evasive. They don't need anything to be. They don't need to be pumped, and they're a good target for Thirst since they have 3 defense. So that's nice. That works well with the plan right now. Sorcerer with the gem could be okay, but it's not a good target for Thirst, so not too keen on that one. Not too keen on that one. So where do we go from there? Betrayalist, now we're in the 4-cost category. Ambusher is okay. Anything that flies. Rangers you control have flight, so this is... Oh, maybe this is something we need to ranger. Just quickly. Wow, we do have it done. That says Rider is a ranger? Oh, that's interesting. Wakizashi Ambusher. That could fly. This guy with flight would be strong. 2/2 Lyricist is a... Wow, this is a ranger. Explorer is a ranger. Ah, we do have some nice rangers there. And if we add the rares and legendaries... Yeah, maybe there's a... At some point there will be a ranger list with these, but for the most part right now, let's just try flight. What do we have? We have 2 1s that fly. It's not really what we want. Discard a troop. This gets +1/+1 at flight. Not really. Oh yeah, let's just remove wild here. Splinter? When the center play read the top 3 cards. Splinter could be a carrier of Thirst. But that's not a great card. Oh wait. There's a weapon equipped for the Duskwing Bat with Life Drain. That goes perfect with the rest of the deck. And this one can carry Thirst. Maybe we could replace the Mosquito with the with the bat with the equipment. And then it becomes a Thirst target. That's cool. And we're using an equipment slot on a common card, so I like that. Flight, Life Drain. Okay. We're progressing here. Maiden is cool, but we don't need that. Terabot, we can only play one. This one is not going to be flight, it's going to be Raichu. Shame Gladiator, unless you plans for the boot slot. Yeah, I guess. Gladiator. Deals 2 damage to you, but it could, when this dies, draw a card. Oh, that's something. It could be evasive with the Blood of Intimidation gem. It becomes 4 attack. It can attack through a lot of things. It's not too bad of a choice, and it draws a card when it dies. So currently we have 3, 6, 8 sources of card draw as it is. That's cool. We're progressing, and we're at 61 already. That list is super low cost though. We want a lethal for defense. Do we want Call the Grave that much? I don't think we want Call the Grave that much. Or maybe we just remove one, stay at 23. This is a low cost. This is a low curve, aggressive curve. I like that. Let's try this one out. I think this one is great. I love this one. And for a budget list, I think it's going to be extremely cheap. And you just take advantage of the fact that you are a ranger, you have a pet on turn 2, you have a pet on turn 4, and it doesn't cost any resources to have your pet. So if you play any other troop, you can use Abominate right away on turn 1 on these troops. Sure, we have Killblade, Deed, Harvester. And this end is bad right now. It's really bad because you don't want to sacrifice your only troop to play a Gruesome Deed, right? But if you're playing a Ranger, on turn 2 you create your pet, and you can fully sacrifice it for Deed on turn 2, 3, 4. And that's not a big deal, and you don't lose the 1/1 lethal troop on the board, so that's something to keep in mind here. This situation we're pretty safe. Right now we would have our pet here on the board if we'd be a level 2 Ranger. Okay, so here we play the Banshee as an evasive threat with 3 attacks, so that's pretty cool. Next turn we play the Corrupted Harvester that has Rage 1 because of the equipment, and we should be pretty strong here. Trading this guy for a totem is nice. And here we're attacking with the Banshee that cannot be blocked. Oh, repel. Okay. That's not cool. We've got Harvester. And if we want to, this would be dead by now with a Gruesome Deed on the pet. Well, not really because we curved out, but we could kill it anytime we want. 5, let's just attack with Harvester. Hope that there's no other repel. No, okay. Gaining 4. Yeah, that works fine. So Harvester with the equipment will win games, you know, most of the time. There's no denying that. Shame Gladiator, that's nice. We can chump block and draw a card with him. It does cost 2 health though, but sometimes that's a price you have to pay. Actually, you can play Taste for Blood on the Shame Gladiator and have him as an evasive attacker with Life Drain. Oh, that's pretty sturdy right now. And we've got, the list has a decent amount of removal. I really like this list. I feel that this is a very well-rounded, strong list to be playing. We've got the Taste for Blood on the Gladiator. We can even get the kill. I guess we better get the Banshee back, because right now we're going to gain enough health to survive any attack for now. Not you know, we're going to survive these 2 troops, no problem. Alright, I think we got something now. I love the Monoblood going on. Oh, even got a thirst and it's a quick action and it draws us a card. Look at that. We're doing nice. Okay, so that's an easy win, but there was so it could have been way better with a pet, and we did play through a repel on a troop that was improved. So on the no, it was not improved, but in one of our evasive threats. So that's pretty nice. That says Rider with Thirst, I feel is okay. We also got an Abominate, so this is where, again, if we would have a pet, that would make a world of difference for this hand. But as it is, I feel it's okay. So... turn 2... Oh, we play a Lackey. That we be able... ideally attacks and we block, draw a card, and depending on what we draw next, maybe we wait to be playing the scrounge effect on the Dead Side's Rider. Oh, nice. We block. And Cocktail Stirs can be a 2-cost destroy a troop with 1 defense. I think this is where we're going right now. Oh, we do not have 4 blood thresholds. Huh. Let's just go with that for now. We can call the grave the Lackey and use it to abominate the Dead Set's Rider. Winning, but she's nice. Okay, so Banshee. We need a way to stabilize and gain some health though in the very near future, because we're pretty low. Killing 4. Another Lucky. Oh, that's nice. Okay, how do we tackle this? We can do a 3-2-4-1 kind of thing. So we could Lucky Abominate attack for 6. I love that. And we draw a card in the process. And puts this one out of range of most damage. Okay, Shame Gladiator when you have low health is not a good pick at all. I think I'm just tempted to call a grave one of the lackeys and put in play. Wait a minute. Okay, that was weird. So we have a no, we don't have a charm blocker, but we drew a card. Okay, should have seen that coming. I'm glad I didn't play the Shame Gladiator in this situation. We're at 5. We've got a Dead Set Rider though. That's going to be enabled with the scrounge, so that's something. Wow, he killed the War Machinist. Okay, so this guy can block this one really great. We can attack with the... Since he cannot kill the Shame Gladiator, I'm just going to put it out there so I can double block and kill something. It puts us very close to death, but we're on a 2-turn cloud right now to kill him, so I think we even get a death touch here, so that's nice. Attacking with the Banshee, and oh, that's an artifact. Forgot about that. Okay, so that works. I'm not in love with the Shame Gladiator though. Him, you know, costing 2 health, and the fact that we start with low health as a ranger, I'm not in love with. We do have a decent amount of life gain, but when you're on the defensive, when you're behind and you're playing this guy and he hits you for 2 health and then you chump block, it feels like the worst feeling in the world, really. Not to not too great on that one, but we'll see. It's an evasive threat, but so if we replace the if we would be replacing the gladiator, what would we use? We would have we currently have a chest equip open. We currently have, if we remove him, we have a feat equip open as well. Maybe one of our artifacts could be okay. So here we play the brawler on turn 2. And we attack with the lackey to activate the assault. Alright, that's okay. Shame gladiator. Again, hitting us for 2 years is not the best. We're going to put him in play nonetheless, but I'm really not in love with the gladiator. Getting it for 2 is really bad for us. I do love the fact that he draws a card, but in this situation where he draws a card, you're behind. And getting it for 2 damage to just chum block and draw a card doesn't feel right. We're definitely using Gruesome Deed right now. Hey, Mom Cards, welcome! Bienvenue à nos amis français. Je suis en train de travailler sur un build de Ranger Shinner level 2. We're going to on va continuer en anglais par contre, mais si vous avez des questions en français, n'hésitez pas de les poser. Je vais pouvoir les répondre en français sans problème. Okay, now we're using Gruesome Deed on this guy. No question there. Okay, put the Duskwing and attack with these 2. Hey, Alucard, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome to everyone, that's a lot of viewers. We're currently working on a level 2 Ranger Shinner list, and I believe that we're just find a very good candidate for it. The reason why we're working on that is that I've started a new resource for PvE, which is this link, where I want to gather lists for all classes and race combination, as well as lists for mercenaries and for ships. So I already have a few lists up there and running. The OP describes how this works. And if you want to submit in the thread list that you think would be very cool, it would be awesome. Right now, again, I'm working on level 2 Shinner list. So, so this is what we're testing in the arena right now. I figured if the list does great in arena, it should be doing great in a campaign. So here we're going to pump the Shame Gladiator attack with everything. And yeah, this is we're going to win this. So principle behind the testing right now is that I'm using a champion with low health, because we already know that the Ranger has 17 health. This one has 18, so that's fairly close. We can't really simulate the Ranger specific class champion power. However, we know it. Like, we know that on turn 2 we're getting a pet. We know that on turn 4 we're getting a pet. So we can kind of, you know, have a good idea of what it looks like, right, when we play the Ranger. And the reason I want low level list is that when you start your Ranger, you will go through the Craven Castle, the first dungeon. You will get out of the dungeon as a level 2 characters, and then you'll need to build a deck for your Ranger. So this one is the Shinner one with the Shinner grid. I've got a few ones already in. I've got a human, the Coyotel, the Necrotic, the Dwarf, the Venom is already done. So right now I'm working the Shinner, but I think we're pretty close right now to be completed with the Shinner, because that list right now is doing fantastic. It's mono blood, there's no rares, there's no legendaries, the rarity on the equipments is all uncommon and commons as well. This one might just be one of the cheapest that I have right now for the budget list for the starter Ranger package. We're going to keep this. We've got plenty of sacrifice fodder. Even if we don't, we would have We would have our pet to sacrifice as well. So the way this this list is built is that we're going to use the pet to as a sacrifice fodder for action that pump our troops for removal. So this is how the list is built. It's assuming that we always have a turn 2 play, right? So here, oh, we've got a Banshee. This is nice. And the rest is just, you know, we're going to have evasive threat that we're going to improve. So the actions that makes our troop grows are even better. You know, like Abominate, we could just sacrifice our pet and use it on the dust screen right away right now. Even if we don't draw a shard next draw. And this is exactly what's happening right now. Here, I think we're using Cogdabel's Thirst on the Duskwing. The other option is use a Lackey. I guess, no, I love using the Lackey for the Gruesome Deed more, just to draw the card and see if we can draw a shard from it. Okay. Nice. We didn't have to pay the sacrifice on the copy since it's a cost. All right, it works. So here it is, attacking with the Duskwing, no problem there. I'm not using the champion power right now because it would really change the way the deck works, and that wouldn't provide us with good information. So we can clearly use Thirst here. We know that Blood Sphinx is using Extinction in his list at some point, so we already have 2 troops to use the Dead Set Rider power. So I guess we're just attacking with these 2. I would have loved to use Thirst when we have 4 blood threshold, but I think it is better to use it right now just to get in more damage and some life gain as well because of the Duskwing. So getting these things in order here. Yes. So I believe after this game we're going to review the list, and I think this is set. So we're going to add it to the tracker and maybe see if you guys so again, right now we could use Abominate on the Duskwing, Abominate on the Killblade of the Milky Eye if we had a pet. So we would be in an even stronger position. We're just going to attack with these, or just attack with the pet and have the Taste for Blood cost lower, cost reduced even more. So lots of things going on right now with what we're doing that would just improve significantly if we had the Ranger pet out here. And now we're at 5 resources. We have no troop to improve. Again, if we had the Ranger pet, we could use Taste for Blood right away on the pet. So that will also make a difference. Hey, salut Pudding! Comment ça va? With my weird French accent that I just invented. Alright. That's what you get when you switch. Oh, Caldergrave! Just in time. So, do we want a Duskwing here? I kind of feel I want the Dead Set Rider to remove the RP. Yeah, that works fine. I love that. So for those who speak French, you can freely interact in the chat in French. I can answer in French, no problem, as it is my first language after all. So Dead Set Rider, yeah, it's going to get extinction again. Oh, not again. Okay, so where do we go from? I like Taste for Blood. It's not a 2-turn clock, but that's a decent amount of damage there. Just keep the Banshee since we know that Blood Sphinx is running a ton of removal. And he has extinction in hand, so yeah. Here we play the Banshee, play another shard, and here again we would be able to generate a pet and use Abominate on the next turn to have the Banshee do 6 damage. Are you kidding right now? He's just trying all the extensions. Okay. Kill this. And if we'd have a pet, we would have the Sphinx at 1. But if we would have a pet, we would likely have 1 by now. So this is what we want to gather from this fight, is that we might just be able to win through a ton of removal. And yeah, it works fine. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yay! Shame Gladiator doing 2 to him. That means that we're winning this. Oh no, he can block. He can block no more. Alright, that works. Excellent, so we win. Yeah, the list feels super strong. Well-rounded, decent amount of removal, evasive threats. We have recursion. I think this is a winner. We even have card draw in the list. That's nice. I feel like this is a very strong contender for one of the strongest early ranger lists. So 2 kill blades against Xarlox and Abominate and the Banshee. I guess we're going to run this. Xarlox is just going to be a pain in the ass as always. But we do start with a Brawler. So I guess the Xarlox would be the equivalent of fighting a dungeon boss. More or less. Do you guys agree with that? Huh. I guess I'm going to be extremely aggressive right now. Go with the 6/4 attack on turn 2. That should that should put a decent amount of pressure, right? Of course. Why not? We do have a kill blade here. We've got 1 troop in the crypt. We've got 2, so that says Rider is going to be live as well. But I wouldn't mind trading the kill blade for the Tarantula in this situation. Oh, you have a Death Sentence, okay. Well, we're going to do this. And this here. You already reviewed new sporters? Depends of the sporter you're speaking of, but there was one extremely good sport by Monk cards that we can review after this game. Are you kidding? I'm going to continue to hate Xarlox for now and pass the turn. Because that's what we do when we fight Xarlox, and he's at his second Tarantula. And his third just came out. Alright, we're not going to... I'm not going to continue on the road. I love the list. Let's just review the list real quick. It's going to be up on the Adventurer's Guide here, the Campaign Death List Guide, in a few minutes after the stream. But just going to show you that list, and maybe... I don't think I have that... Yeah, maybe we take a few minutes to review. I didn't do a spoiler review for Adventure Zone 2, so maybe we can do that after. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's do a spoiler review after that. So this is the list we were running right now. I think we can shave 1 blood shard for a Call of Grave. It felt really strong with that list. So where we're going is that we're using the Kill Blade as an early blocker and an early enabler of Assault. Also an early fodder for Gruesome Deed or Abominate. Gruesome Deed uses the pet or the small troops that we have. We have Lucky as well as a sacrifice fodder to draw cards. Right now we're using Gladiator with the boots to draw a card when it dies, but it's not... I don't like this one yet. I think that we should... find a suitable replacement for the Gladiator. I love the fact that he's drawing a card, but the 2 damage to us is really crippling, and the Ranger is starting with a very low amount of health, so that appears to be a problem. We've got Thirst here. That +3/-3 works really well on our Brawler, on our Duskwing, the Banshee, the Rider, the Harvester, so that's great. Brawler here has the equipment that makes it Rage 2 instead of Rage 1, which is world of difference for an evasive threat that you can use your Taste for Blood or the Thirst or the Abominate-a-hon. We've got a Duskwing with the Equip that gives it Life Drain. Very important, it has 2 defense, so it can be a target for Thirst. Kill, so we've got 6 direct removal and 3 little troops in the list, so it's very sturdy. We can even use Thirst to remove a 1 defense troop if we need to. And the rest is just Banshees with +1 attack with the equipment as an evasive threat. That's a Rider as an evasive threat and another removal. And Harvester with the head equip for the Rage 1, which is extremely good. So very sturdy list. I really like it. I'm going to save it like that. I'm going to add it off stream to the deck list guide. But yeah, this is great. All right, it feels very great. I think we got our Chenier list here, and actually we could use the exact same list for the Venom Ranger, and I feel that it would be a lot stronger than the other list that I'm using, just for the fact that the Venom Ranger has a 1/1 spider pet with unblockable. So having Thirst, having Taste for Blood, having Abominate on a 1/1 unblockable pet is going to be crazy good. So yeah, I think this is going to be straight up the Venom and the Necrotic Ranger list as well. I feel that it's going to be very cool. Yeah, I feel that this any Blood Ranger, this list is going to be great. And look at that. I mean, it's all common and uncommon. It's going to be extremely cheap to build for new players and even seasoned player, right? Even if you have a big library of cards, you just take the list, build it, start into the adventure zone. And if you're an avid PvP player and you don't want to spend too much time trying to tinker with PvE list and you just want to enjoy the content, enjoy the story, or just play with it, then it's nice to have a resource where you can just grab the deck list, use it, and have fun, right? Go through the encounters without too much of a problem. I like this list, really, really great. If we want to throw money at it, we could do a lot of stuff, but I really love this list. So I'm going to do a lot of change with the deck list that we're seeing right now on the... So it works with the Orc, it works with the Necrotic, it works with the Chenier, and it works with the Venom. It works with 4 races, this list. Right there. I do think it's not the strongest is still the Sapphire Ruby list with Cloud Walk, because this one is just stupid strong, but this is there's not going to be any raffle though today. I'm only doing raffle on the Sunday morning episode of the Learning Experience. Sure, thanks for the follow, I appreciate it. Welcome to the team. Alright, so let's use the remaining time that I have tonight to review the spoiler that we have so far for the Adventure Zone 1. Adventure Zone 2, sorry. So let's just put the notes here, right there. Okay, perfect. So again, this is the farm thread that I created in the strategies and deck list subsection of the official forums. You will find here the general description, and the deck list will be there. We will be using links to HexTCG browser for the list for convenience. They're very easy to go, and you have everything in there. It's really graphical as well. If you're a visual person, you can easily see the list and the cards. You have the equipment right there, so fairly easy to do. You even have the value of the deck at somewhere in there, so very easy to grab. If you want to search for the decks, you just search for TLH for the Learning Experience, and you will find the list here, all the lists. So I'll be adding mercenaries list as well. We'll be adding ship builds as well. So there's going to be tons of fun with this. So we're going to use that to represent the list, and we're going to use the forum post here to as a repository of all the lists. If you want to participate, we already have some nice submissions there, so we'll certainly be trying to update these lists as well. And the list will have 2 types of lists to be tested and confirmed. And if you find a to be tested list, it means that you know, it seems right, but didn't really receive any concrete feedback that it works fine. Also, there are going to be budget lists and competitive lists. So the budget lists are very straightforward, right? It's a budget list, so it's aimed to be very cheap, very easy to gather and just straight up use. And there's also going to be competitive lists that do not care about the value of the cards, just straight up use the best card and try to build the best farming that possible. Because PvE, you know, the competitive side of PvE is farming. It's farming gold, farming packs, farming resources. So being competitive in PvE means to have a good farming deck. At the very least, that's my definition of it, and that's where I'm going with this. Oh, this is where we'll be going with the post. Alright, so let's get into the spoilers. We've got a decent amount of preview. There are tons of cards, and we've got mercenaries, and AI only cards and packs. So, alright, let's just get 1 second here. I need to take a bit more water and then rest my voice a bit, and then we can continue. Alright, so let's start with the first one. Giggling Scavengers. So it's a 4-cost 1 white threshold. Gnoll, it's a 2/2 for 4. Okay. It's an uncommon. When another card enters crypt from play, this gets +1/+1. So any card from play, it doesn't need to be troops. But it doesn't, like, if you discard or you play an action, it doesn't trigger. So that's not that great, but it can become big very quickly. I don't think it's a very competitive card, but it's a cool card. And usually you'd want to be able to control what's going on a bit. So one-sided mass removal, or troops that you sacrifice for some effects. I guess it's going to be better with blood. There's a lot of sacrifice card, and we just built a deck with a lot of sacrifice effects in it, so that could be a thing. If you're playing a ranger, you have a pet that you can use for as sacrifice fodder, so I guess could work as well. But for the most part, it doesn't really feel that's a very competitive, very strong card. It's just a cool card, and from what we've seen so far, it seems that the gnolls are all about, you know, using scrap, reusing what's in the crypt. And it's no wonder that we've seen a few gnoll that have crypt interaction so far. Archshell Sea Lord is a 5-cost 1 diamond 1 threshold troop. It's a hard shell. It is a 6/3, and it reads shell, must attack and deploy. Other archshells you control gets +1 defense. Now, shell was revealed in one of the primers for Adventure Zone 2. The mechanic works in a way that when this troop takes damage, any damage, so it can be combat damage or it can be direct damage, it can be any type of damage, it just prevents it, so there's no damage, and it loses 1 defense permanently. The fact that it provides +1 defense to other archshells is great, so that likely means that there will be a lot of synergy with the shell, new shell power, and the fact that this one provides defense, so it's more trigger of shell, possible trigger of shell. This is a weird troop, right? Because shell is, I guess it helps on attack too. If it gets blocks, it just remove the damage and does -1 defense. But I'm guessing that if it gets blocks by multiple blockers, it will receive a minus defense equal to the number of blockers. So attacking into a sea of blockers might not be a great thing with the Sea Lord. And it has must attack, so it's a weird troop, to be honest. Really weird. Maybe there's some equipment that makes it better. For now, not in love with it. Not at all. It's a 5-cost must attack with a mostly defensive power and provides 1 defense to other troops. So I guess you want to attack with the other troops since they have more defense and the AI doesn't trade with them. That's a weird one. That's a weird one, but you know, maybe we can work things out with it. Let me just change the background magic a bit. I enjoy the oak channels a bit more. Okay, so next one, Halls of Kukulkan. So Kukulkan is one of the dungeons, the new dungeons coming with Adventure Zone 2. 2 cost 1 diamond threshold constant that read when an opposing troop attacks, this deal 1 damage to that troop. So obviously clearly intended to deal with a lot of 1 defense troop. So it would be doing wonders in the Piranha encounters in Adventure Zone 1, for instance. And I'm pretty sure there will be, you know, more Dreadlings, more low defense, white deck opponent in Adventure Zone 2 that would be facing. You can stack these to have more, you know, to have more damage to attacking troops as well. There are ways to augment the non-combat damage of cards that you control. That would make this do 2, 3, 4 damage to opposing attacking troops. So there's you can work with this. That's a cool card. The fact that it's not unique and you can have multiple in play is pretty cool. It's fairly cool, and it's 1 damage on attacking troops though. But it only works against, you know, small troops, or maybe you use it with you yourself playing a lot of small troops. And this helps your small troop training up with bigger troops. So that could be something nice. Yeah, that can definitely lock down decks that go wide. And that's the purpose of the card, right? I don't know if there was any equipment spoiled, but the card feels pretty good as it is. If there's any equipment that improves it in any way, it could be fairly good card. Next one was one of the first spoiled, was Sneak Blade of the Milky Eye. This is a pretty strong card. You know, 1 cost, 1 blood threshold, 1/1 Shinner Ranger, a Ranger. When the Shinner you control dies, this deal 1 damage to each opposing champion, and it's unblockable. So that's a 1/1 unblockable. It would work wonders in the deck that we just built for Ranger, for reference. It's also a deck where we sacrifice things. Can do okay with some triggers of the 1 damage. The 2 equipment, the first one is gloves. Your Sneak Blade of the Milky Eyes have Life Drain. That's nice. Also procs of the extra 1 damage that you're doing when a Shinner you control dies. Sneaky Garment, chest piece. When this deals combat damage to a champion, summon a Battle Hopper. Now we're talking. Now we have a card that is self-enabling, and that's extremely strong. Give me a second, guys, here. I really need to take care of my nose real quick, so I'm going to spare you this. Hey, I'm back alive. Okay, so yeah, this is very strong. It would be insane in the deck that we just built. The fact that it is a chest equip, that makes it a self-enabling troop. You play this on turn 1, you attack, you create a Battle Hopper. It's just a sacrifice fodder. You deal damage with this. I really don't think we'll be playing the gloves equip with this one. It's not strong enough, really, for high-level decks to use a deck slot as sort of as the gloves as it is, but the chest equip is fairly strong. It's a self-enabling engine right there. It provides more troops, so you can use for sacrifice fodders, you can use for assault triggers, you can use them for a lot of stuff, and you can freely attack with this one. It's like having, in a sense, when you have the chest equip, it's like having Steadfast, because you can attack freely and you can block every turn with it. So there's a lot to love with this troop. Extremely good with anything that makes it bigger as well. So we'll see more of these in very strong lists in the near future, I'm pretty sure. Voice of the Tombs, again, another extremely strong card, self-enabling card. 1 cost, 1 blood threshold, 2/1 Necrotic Warlock, it's rare, and it reads, while this is in your crypt, Necrotic you control get +1/+1. Now, a 2/1 for 1 goes really well in any aggressive deck. We already have very strong lists right now to farm Adventure Zone 1. That is a blood list that runs a ton of aggressive troops, and there's one cost 2/1 troops in there that are Venom that do nothing else than just being a 2/1 for 1 aggressive troop. And this one has a very clear upside when it's in the crypt. And also, as it is, there's a boots equipment that reads this your voice of tombs have sacrifice this, revert target necrotic in your crypt, put that troop into your hand. So with the boot equip, we have a self-enabling troop, right? You play it, you then sacrifice it at any time as a quick action to revert a necrotic in your crypt and draw it. So this is basically draw a card with some amount of selection on a 2/1 for 1 that will also provide +1/+1 to all your necrotic that are in play. That's just crazy good. That is crazy. We're in the crazy good territory. We're in the territory where this card cannot exist in PvP because it would be too strong. So really like the glove equip here, and we can see just with these two cards, right? They don't share the same equipment. They're very aggressive, very efficient early attackers that are self-enabling. This is the hallmark of a mono blood deck that is very aggressive and maybe a ranger deck. But yeah, this card extremely strong in most blood decks, and if you can build around it, it's just better. I'm not sure that we'll be able to use 3 copies of a blood rare with maybe with some of the races, but we'll see. Even with 2 copies, this is a self-enabling card, and this is really what you want. If we take a bit of a pause here, if you tackled any PvE deck building so far, you will have noticed that what happens with the grid that we have, the limitations that we have, is that it's really rare that you will spend an equipment slot on a singleton in your deck. Because you want these equipment, they're strong, they really improve cards, and they're the center of strategies. So you really want to have your equipment affecting multiple copies of cards so that you draw them in most games, right? So having access to only one rare, you know, even if it's very, very strong, well, if it's self-enabling and it wins you a game every time you play it, I think that's worthwhile. But if it's just, you know, self-enabling card that also have some kind of nice advantage, you'll likely be better spending the equipment slot on something else that you have 3 copies that you will encounter a lot more often. For the most part, I mean, general guidelines here, there's few exceptions, but that's what I'm wondering, right? This is a rare troop, so maybe we get to play 3 copies in a deck with the level 15 Shiner characters. And if that's the case, then it's pretty strong, right? So you have 3 copies, it's a self-enabling card. If you have all of them in the crypt, they're all giving +1/+1 to your necrotic. That's very strong, so a lot of things to love here. Next one, now we're going down a notch in power level. Forge Flock, so it's a 2-cost 1/1 flight. When you play an equipped card, this gets +1/+1. Now this is very exciting. They're really going outside of the boundaries here. They're being very creative with the powers, and I really like it. So you have 6 equipments for a deck, and they affect 1 to 4 cards each. And you usually want to have your equipment affecting cards that have multiple copies instead of very low amount of copies. So let's say 6 times 2 or 3. So it would be 12 to 18 cards in your deck that are equipped. And when you play an equipped card, this gets +1/+1. I'm not sure if this counts itself. No, it doesn't count itself, but you know, it's easy to believe that, to think that you'd be able to play a very good amount of equipped troop, and this troop might even be equipped itself as well. And it feels like a nice troop to have. It's a robot, though it's an artifact, so the problem with artifacts is that besides the dwarves, most races doesn't have access to a lot of artifacts. That's not true. The elves do have access to additional artifacts compared to other races, but that's mainly it, right? So you're not going to be able to have like 4 copies of the flock here, but that's the cool card. And I love the equip as well. The fact that when you play an equip card, this gets +1/+1 instead, really changes the way you look at the card. This could easily be a win condition in a deck. I can see an aggressive deck with a lot of equipped, like 2 cost and 1 cost troops. And you play this on turn 2, then you play 1 or 2 equipped troop in the next 2 or 3 turns, and all of a sudden it's a 2/2, 3/3, 4/4 attacker. And it's a permanent modification as well, so it keeps them. That's really cool. Also an artifact. Easier to get back from the crypt as well. Next one, Blight Water Hag. So 4 cost, 2 blood threshold, 5/5. This is a sea hag, and it reads, when an opposing a troop enters play. So templating error here, but we get the gist. That troop gets -1/-1. This gets -1/-1. And there's an equipment. Your Blight Water Hags have sacrificed 2 other troops over this. So this is weird. I don't think that's good enough to be played in most decks, and maybe you need to fill a hole in your deck, and that's okay, but it doesn't even feel to be a good enough card in even a budget deck or just a, you know, very, I don't have a big collection list, right? It's just bad. I mean, 4 cost, 5/5, that will slowly wither the troops that are being played. So I guess if you're fighting a fight where the opponent is putting a lot of troop into play at once, and they have low defense, that would be okay, but it's deceiving, right? It's a 5/5 for 4, but I don't think that's good enough. It maybe is, but as soon as they play a troop, it's a 4/4. So if they play a 5/5 or 4/4 that's on curve with stats, you're already just trading with them. But I guess you're giving it -1/-1, so I don't know. It's a cool card, but I think we have better things to do. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be a lot of encounters that this card would be good for, but and the equipment you're not playing it. So reverting this, I can see specific contexts where this is very, very good, but for the most part, I think we have better things to do. I just think with all the cards that we already have, and we can get so many synergies, and I see this as a niche card. Like there's clearly a situation where this card is very, very good, and you will be playing this card when it is very, very good. However, what I'm saying is that for the most part, this is not a card you start with your list when you want to have a flexible list that will tackle a wide range of encounter of challenges. So and a 4 cost constant that gives -1/-1 and can block. Now this is better than a constant, really, but what I'm saying is just you'll likely know when you want this one, and I'm pretty certain that you won't be running the equipment. Next one, and this is again, disclaimer, first impression. I didn't take the time too much to review these cards, so I'm giving you my first thought, things that come first to mind. It might very well be completely wrong, but this is just to have a quick discussion on these cards because it's fun, and it does prepare us for what's to come. So White Flame Phoenix, so 4 cost, 2 ruby threshold, 4/2 troop with flight. So 4 cost, 4/2 with flight. That's great. This is a legendary, so they're packing more power here. So what do we have for the text? Death Cry. Put this into your hand. Then discard a card at random. This deals damage to each opposing troop. Each opposing troop equal to the discarded card's cost. Okay, so what's going on here? So we have a 4/2 flight troop. That's a good aggressive troop that does a lot of damage. Put a clock on the opponent. When it dies, it goes into your hand, and then you discard a card at random. So even though you discard a card, you're not down a card because you got a Phoenix back into your hand. The fact that you discard a random card is really sad. However, it deals damage equal to the discarded card's cost to all opposing troops, so that could just very well be a board wipe. I think overall it's a strong card that aggressive decks might be playing, but I'm guessing this is too slow for an aggressive deck, so it's more like of a mid-range deck, and maybe even a controlling deck, but high cost actions in the end that you don't mind, or a lot of draw cards. But for the most part, this is a cool troop. The equipment, the first one on the feat reads, they have speed. Now we're talking. So with the feat equipped, this becomes an aggressive troop. On turn 4, you attack with 4, and you attack with it, and maybe they block it. And if you have no cards in hand, and this dies, it means that you're doing 4 to every single opposing troop. So that's pretty strong. So maybe you want, in an aggressive deck with the boots equipped, it fits really well, right? Because you're dumping your hand, and this is the last card you play, you attack with it, and it dies, and it just does 4 damage to all their troops. Seems like a good scenario to me. Having the option of adding speed to a troop is very strong. Rest of the Phoenix. So your Phoenixes instead have the cry, put this into your hand, then discard a card at random. This deals damage to each opposing champion and troop. Okay, so the chest equip adds champion to the equation, but that's still good, but you know, it's a walking random board wipe. That's a weird way to do it, but this is a strong card. I expect this to be played in Ruby list. This is a strong card. It has 2 Ruby thresholds though, but especially with the speed here, that's a very cool card to be playing. In the optimal farming list that wins on turn 3 on average, obviously you won't be playing that card. But you know, if you have a slightly, you know, slower list, but you get more utility and some board wide, yeah, I like this list. Not to mention that you might just be sacrificing your own Phoenix for the effect, and you might be taking advantage of putting more cards in the crypt too. Also, another thing to consider, it gets back to your hand. You might not be discarding your Phoenix, so the next turn you can just replay it and attack again with it. So that's another thing to consider. That's very good. So if it dies, it gets back to your hand, and if you have a lot of cards, there's a good chance that you will be able to just play it again, and that's pretty cool as well. This card needs the Youthful Merc. True, that would be fairly cool with the Youthful Merc as well. Next one, Arcane Sprite Gang. So 6 cost, 1 Sapphire Threshold. It's a 3/3 for 6 cost. It's an uncommon, so it doesn't have great stat. It has flight, so it helps. Let's see what it reads. So deploy, put target action from your crib into your hand. Now, 6 cost, you get a 3/3 flight, and you get any action to your hand. That's the equivalent of drawing a card with some amount of selection, for the most part. And it costs 6, so you're not playing this early in the game. Unless you're playing a Cloudwalk build, and if you do, you play Cloudwalk on a troop. It's an action that goes to your crypt. You attack with the Cloudwalk troop, and if you have the legendary equipment, you will be able to play for free a flight troop in your hand. So you then play the Sprite Fang and draw the Cloudwalk back. Then you can play the Cloudwalk on the Sprite Fang on the next turn and attack, and maybe you have another Sprite Fang in your hand, and you get the Cloudwalk back. So there's a kind of nice little interaction there I really like. The trinket reads, instead of deploy, put target action from your crypt to your hand. You can play this for free. Now we're talking. Now there's definitely strong things to do with this troop. We already have ways to bypass the cost of flight troop right now in the game. It's in Sapphire and it's pretty strong. Being able to, at the very least, just get back the Cloudwalk with the equipment that draws a card, by the way, is just very good. I like this troop. I think there will be a place for this troop. There will most definitely be a place in the early Ranger build builds that I already created. If I would have access to that troop right now, that would be a 2 of in the list. No problem with that. I'm not sure I would play the equipment. The equipment is very strong. It's another way to bypass cost. Any equipment, any cards that enables you to bypass any cost needs to be looked at and pay good attention to these because they're the best ones. They're just the best. They're the strongest effects that you can do in the game. The next one is Dwarven Fishbait. So 1 cost, it's an artifact. At the start of your turn, sacrifice this, then this deals 1 damage to each troop. Each troop means your own as well. It's very, very specific to deal with a lot of 1 defense troops, so you'll know when you want to have this. Well, yeah, the equipment here makes the card. What I'm saying is that even without the equipment, we already have ways to cheat this one into play for free on turn 2. And if you're playing this on turn 2, you have a 3/3 flight, and you get back the Cloud Walk in your hand. That's just crazy good value. That this is a nice combo there. But I agree, being able to get an action for free is going to be insane. Other scenario, you play Tatiana's Majesty, right? It will go to your crypt. You get to target a Sprite gang, put it in play, grab the Majesty. It's now free. You replay Majesty, and you get another iteration of this. You see where this is going? This is going to be insane. This card is going to be insane. Oh, this is a trinket. It doesn't work with the Cloud Walk. That's sad. That is very sad. It doesn't work with Cloud Walk. But it's a very cool card to play with Majesty, though. Very cool card to play with Majesty. It just gets you a free reactivation of Majesty. And after that, you have the gem effect on this card, whatever it is. So that's cool. That's a cool interaction right there. And I'm pretty sure we'll find more interaction, right? If you have actions that are affected by any prophecy, like copy or draw a card Majesty, that gets this one into play, and then you replay the Majesty, you get 2 or 3 copies of Majesty. There's some nice loops to be done here. That's great. This is a very strong effect for deploy, so any way you can cheat this one into play without paying 6 is going to be very powerful. If you even more so if you can spare the equipment there, right there. All right, next one. Broodcrown Gorger. It's a 2-cost, 1 blood threshold, 2/1 gnoll. It has a 1-shot. It's an uncommon. It has a 1-shot. When another troop dies, this gets +1 attack and life drain. So it's a 2/1 for 2, which is not too bad. And when any other troop dies, it becomes a 3/1 life drain. That's decent for 2 cost. 3/1 life drain. That's okay. The equipment is your Broodcrown Gorgers have Swift Strike with a diamond threshold. Now, a 3/1 Swift Strike life drain for 2 is a pretty good troop. Although we're in PvE, we're in the campaign, so it's going to be a nice tool for your deck. If there's if the context asks for a lot of Swift Strike to be very good, then this is going to be awesome in your Diamond Blood decks. For the most part, it's likely going to be a filler until you can put better cards in your decks, but this is a cool one. I like this. When you're developing your collection and you have a Blood Aggressive deck, this is a cool card. I mean, it can get 1 attack and life drain, and it doesn't really work with the Ranger build we built. But if we're playing a Necrotic Ranger, we're going to have access to Diamond thresholds. So 3/1 life drain Swift Strike is pretty good target for any augmentation. That is for sure. Next one, Apex Forager. So 6 cost, 2 wide threshold, 2/4. This is a rare. So 6 cost, 2 wide threshold, 2/4. We need something there. We really need something powerful. And it's pretty damn powerful. When another card enters a crypt from play, draw a card. Now that is strong. it does mention from play. So if you discard cards or things of the sort, it doesn't work. But if you have any ways to create cards in play and sacrifice them, it's going to be extremely good. Sacrificing a troop, for instance, to draw a card now nets you 2 cards. That's great. And we have equipment. So the first one is a chest. Sacrifice an art. It has sacrifice an artifact. This gets +1/+1. And all of a sudden, it becomes self-enabling. And it's in wild. With the chest equipped, we could easily see something like Dreadlings. You create them. They are artifacts. You sacrifice them. Not only you get +1/+1, but you draw a card for each of the Dreadlings that you sacrifice. That's fairly strong. The head equip is epics. Foragers have exhaust, discard your cards. Let me just. Okay, we're good. I may have to stop the stream early because of the daughter waking up, but for the most part, let's just continue. So, exhaust, discard your card. 4 cards, destroy target card. Now, this is not really something that you want to do often. I don't think you will run the head piece. This is too much of a cost. Maybe there will be a way to generate a ton of card in your hand so that it kind of alleviate the cost, but yeah, super amazing with the Redlings. This is too high of a cost though. You need to have a way to cheat it in play a lot earlier, maybe a lot of ramp, and that could work too. But for the most part, it's not strong enough for a 6 cost troop in PvE. It doesn't self-enable. With the chest equip, it kind of self-enables, but you need to already have a lot of targets that you're willing to, well, in this case, artifacts that you're willing to sacrifice. So, what are the scenarios when you have that? 4 cards is a lot. Yeah, 4 cards is too much. I don't see it unless you have ways to generate a lot of cards in your hand. However, the chest equip is with Dreadlings. I think you're going to use this with Dreadlings, right? This is where you're using this. You're going to play Dread Harvest. You're going to play anything really that creates Dreadlings, and you're going to be fairly happy, like with a Blood White deck, and you're going to play this as the top end with maybe some amount of ramp, and you're going to be happy getting the engine going. But yeah, the chest equip, it's self-enabling. So this is what we want to see with equipment, right? We want to see self-enabling cards that win the game on their own. And if you can have 6 equipment in the deck that have 6 targets, 6 cards that win the game on their own, you have an extremely strong deck right there in your hands. Because, you know, most games you will be playing a card that will win the game on its own. So if you have multiple of them, you will win most of your games. And you will have a very well-versed, very strong deck. And that's the first way to approach PvE. And the other way is to create synergy. We have access to a lot of customization, a lot of powerful effects. And what you really want is to have high synergy in your deck. This is where you get the most power. So next one, this is a fairly cool one. Fanged Fanatic. It is a rare. It's 3 cost, 1 Sapphire Threshold, 1 Blood Threshold, 2/3 Venom Cleric. This is unblockable. When a spider enters play under your control, Venom you control gets +1/+1. Permanent effect, not temporary effect. Works extremely well with Dreadlings. This card alone is a very good card. It is unblockable, it grows when you play other things, and it not only makes your this troop grows, it makes all other troop grows. It is also a cleric, so Venom Cleric deck will have an extremely strong engine there. And we're not even talking about equipments yet. So if we look at the trinket slot here, you have the hatchery. Your Fanged Fanatics have deploy, create 5 spiderling and put them each into... Oh, 5... Okay, but not Dreadlings. Oh, I was on the verge of losing my mind here. Create 5 spiderling eggs and put them into each of your opposing decks. I don't like these spiderling decks in PV in campaign. They're okay, but they're usually very, you know, they make for long games and they're not reliable. even though you have a lot more ways to control the spiderlings in PvE. I know there are strong decks with spiderlings, but for the most part, I think you will mostly use this one with dreadlings instead of spiders. You have a lot more control in it. It's a lot easier to have recurring dreadlings instead of recurring spiders from the opponent's deck. The other equipment though is a chest. Your Fanged Fanatics have, when a Venom deals combat damage to an opposing champion, this one is a Venom, create a spiderling egg for each damage they'll put them into that champion's deck. So obviously we got a very big engine there, right? If you have the trinket and the chest, this one is a beast. If you have both, this one is a win con, because you will put it into play, it will create 5 spiderling eggs, then on the next turn you attack with it, it will create 2 more eggs. And if you create any dreadling in the meantime, it will just grow it. And if you have any other venoms that have evasion, you create just a ton of eggs. So this is the kind of card that makes spiderling works. My first instinct would be to use it with dreadlings instead of using the equipment, because the card is fairly strong in itself, and it has a nice cost for the stats, for the power that it has. And if you're using dreadlings, you will get your improvement on the card right away. And you don't need that much, right? You just don't need that much. It's an unblockable troop. If you can create a few dreadlings even on one turn, there's an equipment for Skittering Dark that creates 3 dreadlings for 1 resource, 1 action. And you play this, on the next turn you play a Skittering Dark, it's a 5-6 unblockable troop. What more do you need to win the game in 2 or 3 turns? I mean, you certainly don't want to be waiting for spiderlings the opposing deck. That doesn't make sense, right? You're just going to kill them right away, way before you get any spiderling. That will matter. So this is one of the rare strong cards where I just look at the card and say, we're not even using the equipment, forget the equipment. This card, if you build around it, is going to win the game before the opponent just draws any cards, right? Before you get any spiderling anyway. So but that's a fairly strong card. It will be part of a lot of cleric deck in the future, a lot of decks, period. Like, I can see non-cleric decks playing dreadlings use this to a very great effect. So very cool card, very strong card there. Blade of Bone. Alright, this is a 1 cost, 1 white threshold basic action. It is rare. Target troop you control gets +1/+1 for each troop in your crypt. So that's fairly basic, and that's a basic action. It's just a pump action that works with whatever is in your crypt. Feet, they become quick. That's nice. Quick action is way better. Okay, maybe we're in a discussion right there. Head. That troop battles target opposing troop, so it becomes kind of a quick action that makes a card become bigger, and it's also removal. Works well with big crypts, so Dreadlings comes to mind again for wild. Good, works well with Sapphire, that has a lot of ways to put cards in the crypt. However, if we want to destroy, fight things, I feel that we have better options. If we want to invest in dinos, for instance, and for it to be extremely good, we need to spend 2 equipment slots on it, and it's a rare. We're unlikely to be able to play 4. I don't see myself using that card that much. I think we would have other things to do with our equipment slots, but this is a cool card. If we're in a context where this, having big troops at a quick action matter, and we're also in a context where we have big crypts, this certainly becomes a nice thing, right? Because if you have both equips and you have like 4 or 5 troops in your crypt, this is a quick action that's going to wreck some AI for sure. So something to keep in mind, but my first instinct is to think that we might just not be playing that card. Go out for a lot on platinum in the first days. Actually, that's fairly true, and one of the good reasons to make sure that you have a level 9 character with a very strong build is that you will be one of the few first to farm the content. Therefore, you will be one of the few first to have access to the loot and maybe make some platinum out of it. Alright, we've got a few cards to review here, and I got 20 more minutes. So this one, Kimmer Cat, this one of my reveal on the stream last Sunday, not the last Sunday, but the Sunday before. 2 cost, 1 diamond threshold, 2/2 that will get either Flight, Life Drain, or Swift Strike. With equipment, it gets 2 of them. So this is a beast. There's interaction with Ranger Talents. It's a fun 2 drops for the most part. It's likely not strong enough, but that's a cool card nonetheless. Mad Aradam Cultist. 1 Sapphire Threshold, 1/2 deploy. Put 3 random cards in each opposing champion's deck. From each opposing champion's deck into your deck, each card put into your deck loses all threshold. Those cards become chaos touched. This is cool. This is pretty cool. However, you're not drawing the card, you're putting them into your deck. There's no telling if you're going to draw them. So there's that. You also have an equipment that make them those cards get cost 0, so they become free. So you have a bunch of free cards in your deck. It might be resources though, and it's a deploy. Power. So if you have ways to recur this troop into play, maybe you can just mill your opponent. That's one way to do it. But you're going. The problem with these cards is that, you know, if the cards the AI is playing are very, very strong, then you're getting some amount of value, right? Because you're getting cards that you will never be able to play, and they are very, very strong. However, very strong PvE deck will either be have high synergy or be very quick. So if you have high synergy, getting cards from the opposing deck, even if they're strong, they're not going to work towards your strategy, your synergy, and therefore they're not going to be that great. You most likely would rather draw your own cards. And if you have a very fast deck, you most definitely don't want to draw random cards from the opposing deck. So there's not a lot of good scenarios where this power is great, but it's a fun card. And you know what? Maybe there are cards so powerful in opposing, in opponents, in dungeon bosses that make this one worthwhile. And maybe we have a mercenary that has access to 4 rare sapphire cards that you just put 4 of this guy in with the head equipment, and all of a sudden you're drawing high cost cards that are extremely powerful from the boss deck, and then at some point you just have a lot of draws, so you draw them and you play them for free and you win the game like that. You know, I think there's something to work with here. Again, to note, this is a way to bypass cost, and there's going to be something with it. And this is a necrotic, works well with our friend here, Voice of Tombs. Voice of Tombs also can get the Mad Aradam Cultist from the crypt to your hand, so you can replay it another time. There's synergies there. That something's going on. Maybe we have a necrotic deck that does some nice things with that. Who knows? Next one, Dark Echoes, 4 cost 1 blood threshold, basic action, it is rare. Play target action in an opposing crypt for free. Feed equip becomes quick. Trinket equip at the start of your turn if this is in your crypt and there are 8 or more actions in opposing crypts, put this into your hand. So this is very specific. Most likely you will only play this in very specific contexts. You know that the encounter will, the AI will have a ton of action in their crypt, and then you expect this to be recurring quite frequently. The slippers that make it quick are okay, but you know, you're playing an action in an opposing crypt for free. So you kind of need, this is a very specific context where you know that the opposing champion is going to play actions, and that the actions are good, likely cost 3, 4, and 5, because just using this to play an opposing action that costs 1 or 2 is not worthwhile unless it's straight up busted. So it's a very narrow card. You'll know when you want to play it, and even then I'm not sure that you're going to play it, but it is a cool card nonetheless. And you know, we're evaluating this card in we tend to evaluate PvE cards in the context, it's roughly the same context as we would play PvP. We have an opposing deck, they're playing cards, we're playing cards, and that's roughly fair fight, right? But PvE is not about fair fight. There's going to be awesome, weird, random rules that would affect the game. Maybe you start with off your deck in your crypt. The rules of engagement in PvE are wild. There's just, it's a wild west, right? So cards like that seems very narrow, that in a PvP setup would be just straight up bad for the most part, might just be very strong in a one encounter, but that's a very strong encounter and that's a boss, and you run the card just because of that. Or if it's very narrow card that only works in a specific contest, you will have the card in one of your mercenaries deck, and maybe you have 4 copies because that card is very strong in that specific encounter, and then this is where you use the card. All these narrow cards that we reviewed so far, I'm really pumped for them, and I seem to be very negative about them, but keep in mind that they're very narrow, they're very specific, and we're going to have alternate decks with us. We're going to have mercenaries. So we would have the perfect setup to use these very narrow cards in our Journey to Entrad because of the mercenaries. So we can have a very strong main deck and very narrow, very specific deck in our mercenaries, so that when we encounter this specific contest, we switch to the mercenary that has all the cards that work with the action in the opposing crypts, and it suddenly is just insane, right? This is so cool, and this is why I love these narrow specific cards. Cinder Clone Offensive, 6 cost 2 Ruby Threshold, basic action at uncommon, create a copy of up to 2 target troops you control and put them into play. They get speed, at the end of the turn sacrifice it. So it's a way to generate troops with speed. You need to control them. That means that you already have 2 troops. I'm not in love with this card. Instead, I have summon a copy of up to 2 troops. They get speed, at the end of your turn sacrifice it. So summon a copy up to 2 target troops. So with equipment, it can target the opposing troops. So that's a bit better, but I'm not pumped about this card, not that much. And set a picnic. Okay, 3 costs, 1 Ruby Threshold, rare constant 3. Create a giant army ant and put it into your play. You lose 1 defense. Deploy giant army ants in all zones, cost 0. So, but you put them into play with this constant, so that means that you're playing this with a lot of giant army ants. Do we know what they are? Giant army ant. Okay. There's no equipment for it. It's a 3/2 with crush. You basically save 1 cost. Or you can create them at quick action, but you lose a permanent resource. That doesn't seem good at all. And the equipment is just garbage. So yeah, this is just a novelty card. It's just a nice joke card, fun card, but you're not going to play that. I'd be surprised. Gorilla Ponder, 4 cost, 2 wide threshold. This is a 4/3 uncommon troop gorilla beast. Basic 1-shot. This gets +4/+4 and crush this turn. So 4/3 for 4, that becomes a 8/7 with crush for 1 turn. That's nice. There are ways to revert troops that this is okay. Things to note, this is a beast. There might be ranger synergies. Feed equipment. Your guerrilla ponders have deploy river target card. Could target itself. It could target another ponder, and it could revert very pesky threats from the opposing deck. So I like this card. It's flexible. It's very aggressive, and I think it has a place, and I can see encounters where this card could be good, and on the face value it's a 4/3 for 4, so it's not good enough for PvE, because we want even a lot stronger than that for 4 cost, but that's still good, right? There's utility in the card, and it does pack a big punch on the next turn, so that's great. Okay, so Drag to Depths, this is 7 cost, 2 Sapphire Threshold, basic action, this is a legendary card. Put all troops into your deck, they get when you draw this, play this for free. So this is a board wipe for 7 in Sapphire. We already have, a Bottom of Dingler, and it is playable in PvP. So I'm assuming right there that this is perfectly playable in PvE in the campaign as well. 7 cost, reset the board, and you get a bunch of free card. A bunch of troop in your deck that when you draw them, they play for free. That's a nice proposition. You're playing Sapphire. You you have access to a lot of card draw. Even better with this. You can ramp into the card. You can play it for free from your crypt with a certain sprite gang. And that opens up some space. That's a cool card. I like this one. The gloves equip. Your Drag to the Depths have gain a charge for each troop you put in your deck. Alright. That enables that likely enables a ton of charge. And you can do a lot of things with tons of charge. So that's a good thing. We don't have classes with very high champion power activation though, but maybe there are cards that enables us to activate the champion power multiple times in a one turn. We already have a troop that enables that transform it that quick, basically meaning that you can use it on the opposing turn. But I love this card. I love this card. There's a head equip at legendary though. It's a legendary card with legendary equip. Should be good, right? Your Drag to the Depths instead have put all troops into your deck. They get when you draw this, play this for free, then draw a card. Now we're talking. Now we are talking. Now this is a nice win condition. I will play with this card for sure. This is a fun card, and I think this is powerful enough to warrant a place in a deck. And if you can spare the head equip, this is very nice. If you're fighting, some kind of a... You manage to stabilize and the opposing deck has a ton of troop in play. You play this, they are free and draw you cards. So you draw them and you play them, and you can even have a sequence of them. So that's nice. Nice things to be had there. Captain Sparrowt is... a troop created by one of the ship's upgrades. So it's a 1 cost, 1 Sapphire Threshold, 0/1 with flight. Exhaust gain 1 temporary resource, 1 shot. You copy an action. It's just crazy. That's just batshit crazy card there for Sapphire decks, but for any deck for that matter. It's just crazy. There's no cost to the 1-shot activation. It is quick. And it's a troop that's you start with on the board that provides 1 temporary resource. It's extremely hard to want more. Extremely hard. This is very, very strong. Lots of ships will have the Parrot in play. Now, this is the jewel. This is the card, and it was spoiled by Mom Cards, Ruppet on his stream, so kudos to Mom Cards. By the way, I'm part of their team. If you want to watch some ex-French content, on the Thursday nights, I'm streaming every week on the Mom Card channel in French. But, oh boy, this card. This card is... I love this card. I just love this card. This is, in my opinion, the strongest that was revealed so far. And by a long shot. A Cerebral Jack Hat. 2-cost artifact junk. This is a new type, and there will be interaction with junk, and I'm guessing that it will interact with the crypt, and there will be some ways to get it back on the board. It has deploy, add 3 energy counter to this. So every time you deploy it, every time it enters play, it has 3 counter on it. It reads exhaust, remove an energy counter from this, draw a card. Mind blown. We're in the crazy territory here. This is crazy territory. So you play it. It's an artifact, it's not a true. You can exhaust it right away to draw a card. So 2 cost, draw a card. Next turn draw a card, next turn draw a card. There might be a way to ready this to draw more cards. It's an artifact. After you spend all the charges, you can use it for sacrifice effect. That's great. And then if there are ways to get it back into play, it gets 3 more charges and then you can reuse it again. And if you have ways to bounce things back and forth, you then can draw more cards. It's just crazy. Like, every deck will be playing this in some amount. The aggressive decks, well, not every deck, because if you have a very aggressive deck that went on turn 2 and 3, you're not running this card. You're killing your opponent, right? But these decks might not be viable in the higher difficulty dungeons. So if you're winning on turn 4 or 5, why are you not playing these into your deck? You're just drawing cards. 2 cost, draw 3 cards. That has no threshold requirement. That is an artifact that there's a ton of stuff that interact with artifacts. Already, we have ways to get artifacts from the crypt into play. We already have them. We can use the artifacts to sacrifice to transform them into something else. We can copy the artifacts as well. So there's tons of stuff to do with this, and it draws cards, and it's 2 cost, and it's an artifact. This just crazy good. This I can't wait to play with this card. It will be included in most of the decks that can run it. That are not most of the decks that are winning on turn 1 or 2, on turn 2 or 3. I will be running the full amount of these cards, no question. And there's no equipment that was revealed for it, and I'm pretty sure there won't be, because if there's any equipment to just improve the card even further, that's just stupid good. So, my 2 cents, get these. Get these, farm these, put these into your deck. They will make your deck better. This is a cool card. Alright, last. Second to last, Giant Jellyfish. This was previewed by 5 Shards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5 Shards Twitch. So it's a rare, 4 cost, 1 Sapphire Threshold, 1/6 Beast. So a 4 cost rare that is 1/6, there needs to be very good deck. So Spell Shield, okay. Spell Shield, we're in the discussion. I'm warming up here. So when this deals damage, deal 1 damage to each opposing champion for each damage dealt. Okay, this is good. So it's a big wall. It has Spell Shield. It doesn't fly though. That's a problem. But again, if they attack, you block, you don't take damage, and they get damage. So in a way, it's like they're attacking themselves with the troop. So that's nice. That's a nice effect. That's a strong effect, and there is ways to compound this effect. Another thing I want to point out that is very important here, when this is dealt damage, doesn't mention combat damage. So for instance, if you're playing Heat Wave, you're going to deal 2 damage to the opposing champion because of that. So there are other shenanigans to have here. Boots equips. Your Giant Jellyfish becomes Quick Troop. Now we're talking. They attack, they don't know that you have a blocker, you put this one into play, they not only do you block a troop, but they get damaged by that. So in a sense, it's a 4 cost deal 2 to 4 damage to the opposing champion and block a troop. and then you have this beast into play. Now we're talking. It is also a beast. There's interaction with ranger talents there. The chest equip here. Your giant jellyfish have deploy, opposing troops get must attack. That's also nice. Force the troops to attack. If they have a very, very big troop, they attack, they might kill the jellyfish, but then again they might be dead at that point. So that's a very cool card. I think there will be a space where we'll be working with this card, and I can certainly see many encounters that are troop based, that are the AI is playing big troops, where this one would be a killer with quick. And it's a beast. We have some ways to interact with beasts as well, to improve them, to make them quick, to play them from the top of the deck for free. There's a lot of stuff we can do with this. So that's a nice, I like the type. I like what the card is doing. This is strong. There are ways to abuse it as well. Since it's not combat damage, it's all damage. I think there will be a combo deck somewhere with this troop, and overall it's just a strong troop. I like that. I'll be a defensive troop. You really need to be being attacked, right? So this is a very cool card to play in a control deck, for instance. So you play a lot of action, you kill their troops, you have it in your hand, it's quick, so they attack, you put it into play, you block, they get damage, and then you can deal 4 damage to all troops, and then they get another 4. There's a ton of stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. So that's a nice card. I like that. That's somewhat of a toolbox. You know, you can build around this card. I like it. And the next one, this one is nice. This one is nice. So 6 cost though. This is a rare 6 cost. Strap-tooth Cyborg, 5/5 for 6. Okay, so 5/5 for 6. These are not the best stats, but we're in the discussion, right? We're clearly in the discussion. It's a robot null. Death Cry. This deals damage to each opposing champion equal to the number of artifacts in your crypt. Gain health equal to the number of troops in your crypt. So you're gaining a lot of health, and you're dealing direct damage when it dies. It is a null. It works with the crypt, so there's a concept here. But it is a cool card, and it does something when it dies. So arguably you want to have a big crypt full of artifacts and troops. I don't know, maybe dreadlings that are both, and you're going to do a lot of damage and gain a decent amount of health. So now this is not a self-enabling card right now. Let's see what the equipment's, but this is a card that you look and you say, well, it is doing something powerful. It has the potential to do a lot of damage in one turn. So if you have a big crypt, so let's see the equipment right there. So your Strap-Tooth Cyborg have +2/+2. So with the trinket, it's a 7/7 for 6. I don't think you'll be playing the equipment unless 7/7 matters. The problem with the troop right now that we have, it's not that it is not big enough, because you kind of want it to die on your turn, as it is. The problem is not the stats. The problem is not the stats. The problem is how do you make sure that you have a big crypt full of artifacts and artifact troops, and how do you sacrifice this at the most appropriate time? Let's look at the boots here. So your Strap-Tooth Cyborgs instead have Death Cry. This deals damage to each opposing champion and troop equal to the number of artifacts in your crypt. Instead have Death Cry. Okay, damage to each opposing champion and troop equal to the number of artifacts in your crypt. So it's only artifacts. It doesn't care about things being troops. And it doesn't give you health anymore, but it affects all opposing troop. So that becomes a board wipe. Now we're talking. Now we're definitely in the discussion. Shard of Fate rarity symbol. That's a good question. That is likely a template error. This is clearly an error. But now this is an artifact as well. So any way to cheat artifact in play is going to be good. You clearly want this with a strategy that puts a lot of things in the crypt, and it might be going to the crypt itself, and then you bring it back, put it into play, and sacrifice it right away for a very big effect. So this card here is a finisher. It provides reach. It can even be a board wipe. It doesn't need much to be great. So I think that this one will be the center of a very powerful effect, a very powerful deck. I really don't think we'll be running the trinket. I think the trinket doesn't, you know, it's a good novelty item, but that's not what you want to do with the card, right? You don't want to be attacking. You just want to be sacrificing the cyborg to deal 7 damage to the opponent champion and 7 damage to all troop. This is what you want to be doing with it. So the turns leading to turn 6, you have a way to sacrifice a troop that doesn't cost you any resource, and you have a crypt filled with artifacts. And then on turn 6 you play the cyborg, you sacrifice it, deal 5, 6, 7, 8 damage to the opposing champion and wipe his board. This is what you want to be doing with that. But that is fairly strong thing to do though. It does require a lot of setup. But we're speaking about the campaign, about PvE. We have a lot more control on the setup than we have in PvP. So I'm fairly convinced that we can achieve the conditions required for this to be great. And it's an artifact, so bonus points for that. Being able to recur and work with the crypt and everything. I think that the Gnull deck is going to be pretty strong. Although this one is cost a lot, we have ways to cheat artifacts in play as well, so, and we have ways to cheat troops in play. That's going to be tons of fun, right? Adventure Zone 2 right now is going to be insane. So much content, so much fun to have, and we didn't even have the time to review the mercenaries there, and we already have a few to review. So my next stream is likely going to take a lot of time working on the mercenaries. I'm going to be maintaining the new thread that I just created today to track the deck list. Feel free to hop in, comment on the list, provide any suggestion, any new list, and we're going to build together a very nice resource for anyone who wants to get a new character going in the campaign and doesn't know, you know, how to build, doesn't have any specific idea on how to build a good PvE deck, a strong good PvE deck. Then they will be able to come in here, see the budget list, see the competitive list, and have a good idea of what is good for this specific class and race combination. Have an idea of what is a good deck for this mercenary, and some tenant builds as well, and the ships. So we're going to have some fun. There's a lot of work to be done though. There's many hours of work to be done, but if we centralize things here, it's going to be an awesome resource, and this is what I propose to maintain for you guys. So don't hesitate, come into the forum here under the strategies and deck list, campaign deck list guide, champion, mercenaries, and ships. So come here, don't hesitate to come in. That's going to be fun time here. I'm thinking some mercenaries will start to increase in AR spread after the supporters are complete. There's already mercenaries that drastically jumped in price, because we already have one that is fairly good. That would be Xorak here. That is the Util 2.0. It's going to be fairly strong and competitive. There's no question there. And it went from 300 platinum to 700 platinum last time I checked. So it's a safe bet to say that all Rangers right now are at floor price, because they were useless and they were just collectibles. And with Adventure Zone 2, they will all be playables. So collectors will want to have all of them, and they will all have a specific purpose, and they all upgradable. So yeah, people will be looking for mercenaries in the future. They will all gain in price. There is no mercenaries that we have right now that will be lower in price. It's impossible. Right now there's literally useless. So they will all gain in value. Maybe some will gain very little value, but they will all gain in value nonetheless. Alright guys, I really need to go. I'm waking up 5 AM tomorrow morning. It's already midnight right now, so, and I have 2 kids that might be waking up during the night. So I wish you guys a very great day. Thanks for joining. Kudos for Card, the best guy in the world, who's hosting the stream with 70 viewers. Helps a ton. So take care, guys. Have a nice have a nice rest of the day. Don't forget that you can find me on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Twitch here. Tons of stuff, stream notes. All streams are recorded and uploaded to YouTube as well, so don't hesitate to hop in there as well. Take care, guys. Have a great night. See you later. Next stream is next Thursday on French, Thursday night, and the next one is the learning experience, as always, every week, Sunday morning. Take care.